It is 6 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The Nashville Predators defeated the Seattle Kraken 4-2 last night on the left coast. 4 different players scored for Nashville. UC Saros made 33 saves. Preds have won 3 in a row. Will play again tomorrow night at Edmonton. Sean Payton announced he is stepping down as head coach of the New Orleans Saints after 16 seasons and 1 Super Bowl win. Payton said while he is leaving the club that the word retirement is not the right word. David Ortiz, the lone player elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame this year, being the only player to clear the required 75% vote threshold. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were shut out. According to sources, Louisville men's basketball coach Chris Mack may be on his way out the door as the school is engaged in discussions to separate with their fourth-year head coach. Speaking of college basketball, coming up later today, late afternoon, Florida at number 18, Tennessee. 5 o'clock tip-off for that, 4:30 pregame, courtesy of the Vol Network right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. And over the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5, The Zone.
Good morning, Nashville. JMart Ramon, 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors here in Middle Tennessee. Alongside Ramon Foster, Will Bowling with you. Jonathan Schaefer, our producer, a day off for Jason Martin.
Loafing.
People are calling it the Timon and Pumbaa show, Ramon Foster. Good morning.
Good morning, Will. How was yesterday's rebound for you, man?
Wasn't too bad.
Wasn't too bad.
I don't know when I'm going to hit the brick wall, but I hope it doesn't happen.
Hope it's fake bricks,
It'll
foam
probably
bricks.
happen.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. It usually does, Will, especially for a newbie like yourself.
It's fair.
It'll come. But hey, you're doing the job.
We're doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
We're out here grinding, as the folks say.
According to Coach Mack, this ain't work.
That's true.
Hey.
Be out there digging ditches right now.
Hey, it's cold.
It is way too cold outside.
It's 20 degrees
absolutely
this
is.
morning.
It didn't feel like it was ever in the 30s yesterday when the sun was out. And today it feels like it's in the 10s.
But you know what? I'll say this. I had on some running pants yesterday. You know, the thinner, like jogger pants, whatever you want to call them. From a workout. From a workout. I got some jokes for him right now in this offseason. Can't pick right. Can I call him that? Uh-oh. You throw shots, I throw shots back.
And it's 6:03. We have the first Molotov cocktail that has been lofted at John Robinson.
But shout out to the people at my gym yesterday. It was jumping in there yesterday too safely, I will add. But I hop out the truck to go pump some diesel yesterday, right? And you know what I did, Will? Almost ashamed to say it. Put the pump into the tank. I got back in the car. I was like, am I a punk for this? Because it was cold.
You're just like us mere mortals.
But, underneath the canopy where the gas pumps are, it's actually the correct temperature. And I was actually pretty cold yesterday pumping that diesel, man.
You surely were a no-sleeve guy, too, in Pittsburgh.
Phrasing?
Right? Oh, that was
wow.
Hey, now.
603.
603.
Once a minute here.
Yeah, I was always a no-sleeve guy. Always. I used to lather up with what they used to call that hot skin. That stuff didn't work, Will. It was a mindset. I legitimately used to lather up in that. I tried Vaseline and the hot skin also. Capsaicin. Don't get that in the wrong spot either, by the way.
I feel like you've kind of done your time though of being like the cold weather tough guy. Yeah. Because that's part of your job.
You know what I have transitioned into? As we try to transition out of that funk from Saturday too?
Yeah.
Was that cool radio right there? That was like
it was great.
It was
radio professional. You're a radio guru like Coach Dave McGinnis.
I'll keep on, man. But I used to hate the summertime because that was where all my time was spent. Yeah. I hated the summertime. Like, my trainer, James, I'm talking about, dog, we going outside today? Yep. You know what I'm saying? And
the game's played outside?
Yep.
Then, all right, yeah, going outside today.
It was between training here in Tennessee Okay, by the way, I was at Brentwood High, Brentwood Academy, like
Shout
all the
out.
schools in Frank.
Come on with
That's
that.
your time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But I'm training in all these places, whatever, because we just, switch up the location and stuff for no particular reason at all. And it was hot, Will. Like, I got videos of me of just, like, sun pouring, like, legitimately pouring from me. And we just run, and we do drills, and we do runs, and we do drills in this hot Tennessee, humid, thick air.
Yeah.
So when I was done, I'm in the house.
Uh-huh.
I'm in the house. Like,
Nothing.
I don't even want to be outside. I hated my kids' sports as far as baseball and doing the.
Really glad you added sports at the end of that statement, by the way.
Because.
I hated my kids after working out. It was gosh, they just wanted my attention. And
Forget them kids.
You know what I'm saying? And then there's the idea that we went on vacations. You know what I'm saying? Like, to the beach. Like, why are we at the beach? You know I'm outside all the. I dreaded it. Like, I legitimately dreaded being outside. So now that I'm, like, temperature correct now is what I call it in my post-football life. I'm temp correct. I'm out here like, screw this wintertime.
Oh, yeah.
Hashtag elite athlete problems.
Bougie Brentwood problems right there.
Bougie Brentwood. But, like, now I'm like, I enjoy going on summer vacations. I enjoy being at the park now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I enjoy, like, when is spring break? What are we doing for summer vacation? Like, those are the conversations I have. Like, I'm going to complain about it being hot because why it's Tennessee and it's humid. But I actually enjoy doing outside activities now, Will.
You enjoy your children now?
I enjoy you. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, so yesterday when I said it was cold, like it was legitimately like, okay, man, it's cold outside.
I don't know what it is right now. Like maybe the air is like dry. I'm not exactly a meteorologist. We have a meteorologist in Rhett, Bryan, coming up later on in the show at 9:00. But I don't know. It's the wind and the people always make the claim of, oh, you can put more layers on. Like, nope. I don't care. I love the summers because you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
It's also harder for me to keep my apartment like not completely messy. Like I think I have a stack of clothes. It's almost like it's growing at the rate I was when I was in like high school. Because you like put on so many jackets and then you have more layers that you have to like put away.
Or maybe you're just a slack
away.
ass.
I'm working at 6 a.m., so I don't know. I mean,
there it is.
You put in your laundry in the middle of the day is what you do.
Smart. Hey, today, the big question on today's show that we want to get your reaction on and something we're going to talk with our guests about and kind of gauge the temperature of this fan base going through the steps of denial and the steps of going through a breakup that this city kind of just went through with the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, for real.
What's the first move the Titans make this offseason? I don't want to talk about draft priorities. I don't want to talk about the quarterback that you want. I don't want to talk about Matt Corral or Malik Willis. I don't want to hear any of the draft stuff, all right? Because the problem, Ramon, with mock drafts at the end of January is the amount of free agency that still has to be done just to like make the first round of your draft board. There's so much more of a process that goes into this versus just, 615-737-1045. Who should the Titans draft in the first round? And no, it's like it's not time to do that yet. So it is time to say, what's the first signing? What's the first phone call you're making if you're John Robinson this offseason?
Man, I'm seeing two in the zone chat right now. I'm sure you're picking up on it too. People want some changes, Will.
Yeah, they do.
People want changes, and you know what? You can't blame them. That's one thing I've gotten from this past week. What are we? Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We're in day 5 of rehab right now, Will. Right. You got your notepad that you're writing notes to people on the outside about. What are you doing in your fan base?
It is. I mean, it's fascinating to watch, though, how other teams are going through these processes.
Yeah.
Because everybody is in salary cap hell right now.
Yeah.
And especially the New Orleans Saints, who don't have a head coach.
Well, that situation. And also, what do you think about McCartney? You know, like, with Sean Payton saying, I mean, just he had a 90-minute presser yesterday, Will, what we saw? As far as the timing of it?
Literally, so I saw a joke on Twitter that Sean Payton was going to wait till 2022 or 2023 to coach, and his press conference was going to end around 2023 as well.
He just spent some time with it. Like he said he went on a vacation, or the ownership in New Orleans allowed him to go on vacation for about 2 weeks. So he really talked like he was in vacation mode. But aside that, as far as Sean Payton goes, I think everybody in the mama knows that Jerry Jones has always had a crush on Sean Payton too.
And rightfully so.
And with what McCarthy has done this year, first round for them, like they were wild card round.
Right.
When they were a daggone good team too. And when you have Jerry say, we have the roster for it, you know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
You look at the roster. Dak just got paid. Really good quarterback. I don't know where he stands on the Richter scale as far as, okay, how he moves the needle, but he has that. He has that O-line, though, that is aging. I don't love their left guard. I don't love their right tackle either. But all the other tools that they have, they got the wide receivers. They got the running backs with an S.
Yeah, they do.
You know?
They've got one of the best second running backs probably in the NFL.
Pollard, oh, my God.
He might have been better than Ezekiel Elliott this year if he had that amount of touches.
2 years.
Yeah.
I think the last 2 years he has. That P word for him potential, he's one of them situations where running backs always just seem to get knocked. I don't know if he's a complete feature guy.
Right.
But would you love him as a compliment here?
Oh, gosh.
You know what I'm saying? Just throwing that out there.
And I think that's a sneaky, valuable asset that could be coming to the Titans this offseason.
You see what I'm saying?
Is a runner that complements Derrick Henry. Because I actually disagree with a lot of what I heard on the station yesterday that Deontay Foreman should stick around as the second back in this offense.
It's too familiar, right?
Deontay Foreman is the same role as Derrick Henry.
Very same.
Yeah.
Very same. So, you speak about these offseason moves. I do think we'll want to just, throw that bait out there. I do think you need a compliment at that position like that, as not the same guy. And not the most obvious pick either. Because you knew when McNichols or who else was in the backfield was coming in, it was
Hilliard in there too.
Yeah, it was passing.
Yeah, for sure.
You're passing back. So I think the evolution of this offense under Todd Downing has to incorporate a guy like that.
I agree. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in on the conversation. Coming up here in a minute, though, we're going to hear again from Mike Ginnitti of Spot Track, and there is a lot of information packed into our conversation with him. Quarterbacks that could be reasonable possibilities for the Tennessee Titans, where big-name quarterbacks could land in the vicinity of the Titans in the AFC, plus the most likely candidate to be cut by this Tennessee Titans organization going into the offseason. We've got that coming up. We've got this question through the entire show. What's the first move you are making if you are John Robinson this offseason? We've got Emily Proud of News 2 coming up at 8:20. Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio at 9 o'clock. And our guy, Inky Johnson, midweek motivation to finish off the show today. A jam-packed 4 hours. Don't blink. You just might miss it. Mike Ginnitti of Spot Track coming up next right here, 104.5 The Zone. A very good Wednesday morning to you here on JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone, at JMart and Ramon on Twitter. Will Bowling, Ramon Foster back with you. Lots to unpack in the NFL offseason where lots of teams are in unique salary cap situations. The restructuring of 2020 and 2021 makes for a very interesting 2022. And we had the chance to catch up with Mike Ginnitti of Spot Track, a salary cap expert who dropped a lot of nuggets about what the Titans can do this offseason. With how many restructures and kind of reworking of contracts as there were in 2020 and going into 2021, are teams kind of in weird predicaments going into 2022? How does those mass restructure of contracts affect how teams approach 2022 this offseason?
That's an excellent question. That's literally what I've been sitting here for the last couple of days trying to figure out is how do teams get away from problems and not take too much of a financial hit, because it's not like the Titans are flush with cap space right now. In fact, they probably have to unlock about $20-25 million for this offseason push. So, what do you do with situations like a Julio Jones and, of course, a Tannehill, a couple other players that are at least questionable right now, right? Like fringe bubble players because of how quickly things have to improve for this roster, which is not going to be a rebuild. This is not a rip the Band-Aid off moment for Tennessee. So your question is on par. There were, dozens of restructures across the league, and Tennessee had 4 or 5 big ones. Both of those guys included. Tannehill's big one, Julio Jones' big one, pretty much locks them in. So you're in, it's going to be a big trade-off season is where I'm alluding to with this, because outright releases, even those post-June 1st releases, just aren't going to free up enough cap space to make teams happy to make it worth their time. So I do think we'll get a decent amount of trading because of what we have here.
So as far as that, you mentioned the word trading, and there's a guy that's in the mix of this too, because of course you see, your Josh Allens, your Patrick Mahomes, your young gunners of this league, and you say, man, I want one of those. And right now that's where this fan base is, as according to Ryan Tannehill. So I'm asking you, this $57.4 million cap hit, where does that actually sit as far as trade value? Is that even a conversation to be had when it comes down to, finding a guy or finding a team for Ryan Tannehill, if that's the case?
I think you could find a team, because I think Ryan Tannehill is an upgrade for a lot of other franchises. The question to me is, how do you upgrade? Right? What are you getting back, or what are you drafting, or what kind of lightning are you going to find in a bottle that is an actual upgrade to Ryan Tannehill? And I realize he has his decision-making woes, and there are throws that he needs to make better. But to me, that's the question with a lot of these organizations. Like, I put the Colts in this conversation. I put the Vikings in this conversation. The Browns as well. Like, are you getting a slam dunk upgrade by making a rash move in the next couple of weeks, or is it better off you just kind of let this thing ride out, improve what's around him, and see what you can do for one more season? I tend to sit in that boat with Tannehill, because you're right, the money is ugly, but you can free up $29 million of cap if you trade him after June 1st. So there's a move financially to make here, but what are you getting in return for it?
Mike Ginnitti is Spot Track with us here on 104.5 The Zone. Mike, when you look at the cap hits and the amount of dead cap, there's one number that sticks out for the Tennessee Titans, and that is the left tackle. Taylor Lewan is a guy that a lot of people are going to talk about when it comes to moving on from him, because his dead cap is much, much lower than a lot of the guys around the same cap hit number as him. Do you feel like that is somebody that makes sense for the Titans to move on from, given that $20 to $25 million number you mentioned they're going to have to generate?
The good news with him is his dead cap is only in this year. There's no dead cap next year, which means you can wait. There's no difference in doing it tomorrow versus June 15th. So I think you see what happens with this draft. I do believe that they're going to be identifying a tackle early in this draft. That, to me, that's a pressing need with the situation you're talking about here. And then you can move on from Lewan if you have to. Now, that's not good for the player. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure.
Generally, players like to get released right away, be able to find their next team. And maybe that's what happens. Maybe they understand exactly what their plan is going to be, and they feel comfortable moving on from him March 16th. But they do have some flexibility with him. And by the way, maybe he's tradable. Maybe there's a late-round pick to bring him off with fairly reasonable salaries to get moved off. So I think there's options with him, but he is certainly at the top of the bubble list for me.
You got it.
Sure. Go ahead.
So another question is a theory. Conspiracy theories has started early in Tennessee. as far as the offseason and positions and what do they need to do to, make this team better. One position that I always kind of get crapped upon, and that's the running back position, Mike. How do you view, Derrick Henry as far as, the idea, okay, we ride with him, or do you go find somebody cheaper? I know his idea, no, don't do that. But as far as team flexibility with the cap, where are you with that position as a whole?
Yeah, I got a love-hate relationship with it, unfortunately. I love to watch it. I love the kind of players that position pumps out, but financially speaking, it's just hard to do it now. It's just really hard to see $10 million plus at that position with any kind of regularity. And unfortunately, this was the year where Derrick Henry's contract had a major out. So, it's safe to say that those kind of questions are out there right now, and certainly the injury didn't help. He's a restructure candidate for me. I think you got to keep him. I think this guy has miles left. You do have some deficiencies with Tannehill, as we mentioned, and I believe you're going to have to keep him for one more year. So why not keep your best offensive weapon right next to him for at least one more year and push some cap down the line, free it up to keep thinner, bring back Landry and some other options like that, and add a wide receiver, which is a huge need for this team right now. So I think you can restructure Henry pretty confidently, keep him around for one more season, and then 2023, if it doesn't go well in terms of wins, could be carnage in terms of the salary cap.
Mike, two guys that are on pace for big contract extensions in the coming years, Jeffrey Simmons and A.J. Brown, both members of a really good 2019 draft class for this Tennessee Titans team, both guys who are going to get paid sooner rather than later. Which of those two guys makes the most sense to extend now, and which of the two are you waiting a little bit longer to extend?
I think I'm signing them both right now. I know that there's not a lot of cap, to be thrown around right now, but I'm not worried so much about the cap because generally with these extensions off of rookie contracts, you can keep that first year cap hit pretty neutral. And I know Simmons, they're both going to be about $20 million, or, 20, $21 million. That's just the going rate for their positions respectively. So it's going to hurt in a couple of years, but I think those are two players you can rely on outside of injuries to just be core, confident annual traditions. So I'm doing it now because I want to keep my cap situation as easy as possible, and I can build in restructures next year. I can kind of finesse this thing as we need to go. But I don't want to screw around with those core players, especially if we're headed towards some major change in the next couple of years. You want a guy you can throw the ball to. You're probably dropping Julio Jones off this roster and drafting a young kid anyway this year. So I like the idea of a veteran wide receiver and a veteran, certainly defensive lineman who can be versatile across that line. Those are positions you just need no matter who the quarterback is.
Well, Mike, speaking of other extensions too, Harold Landry, a guy that's certainly a little bit more of a pressing issue considering the fact that he's a free agent right now. Going into this offseason, Titans defenders met with the media yesterday, and pretty much the overarching thought from all of them was, hey, you got to bring Harold Landry back. Kevin Byard even said, if I got to restructure my contract again like I did so we could get Clowney, I'll do it. So Harold Landry's going to come back. What kind of number do you think Landry gets in the open market? How practical is it for him to remain a Tennessee Titan next year?
Yeah, it's not practical because of everything we're talking about. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. But unfortunately, it's going to look just like that Bud Dupree contract, in my opinion. Upwards of $17 million per year on a 4 or 5 year term. So, do you restructure Dupree? Do you restructure Byard? I think, like I said, I've answered that question. I think you do whatever you have to do with a couple of the guys you're confident in, and hope that it works out for the best. I think that's too important of a position with an offense that kind of sputters at times. You don't want to give away pass rush. You don't want to give away any kind of secondary work. I think that's the right position to be paying right now, especially with Dupree having the season he just had.
We had somebody ask the question, as far as weapons, tools, that's what we've seen with all these teams. All these quarterbacks have real strong weapons. Who's a 2022 free agent wide receiver that, could help this team, this offense out? Because every Batman needs a Robin. And I'm not saying, the receiver coming in here is a Robin, but Tannehill needs more weapons.
Yeah, no question about it. And I'm not sure they have the capital to go out and pay a big free agent. I think they're going to have to do it through the draft, which they're limited there as well, unfortunately. But it's a heck of a wide receiver draft class. It's a pretty good tight end draft class as well. And I know that's a pressing need for that roster right there. But maybe it's a situation where you draft a third-round wide receiver and you sign a free agent tight end. There's going to be a decent amount of them out there. Blake Jarwin's going to fall off the Dallas Cowboys. I like him as a cheap option to make a bounce back from his injuries. Maybe one of those young rookies that didn't pan out, O.J. Howard and Evan Ingram. I like taking a chance on those kind of players cheap this offseason. But look, if you're swinging big, Allen Robinson's a great fit. He's a great fit for a lot of organizations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to break the bank. That's a guy that his value kind of tanked on a really bad Bears offense this year. Can you sneak him in for $16 million per year over 4 years? That's a move I'd love to see a couple of these teams make.
I'm actually on your website right now, and I'm looking, down the roster, and there's one name I don't see as far as 2022 salary cap goes, and that's Ben Jones. Didn't realize his deal was up after 21. In your opinion, do you go get a veteran guy out there? I'm not sure if Rodney Hudson is, up or as far as Arizona goes, or do you go in the draft at that position?
I don't think you have the draft capital to take a center this year.
Sheesh.
Unfortunately, I think you've got too many mouths to feed. So you're going to have to find somebody. There's a chance a player like Mitch Morse falls off the Buffalo Bills for cap purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there'll be a few options. I like the Hudson move as well. He's shown wherever he goes, he makes things better. So there's going to be those guys out there. Unfortunately, it's a position that doesn't stick too long on a roster. But Ben Jones is up for money, and I don't think Tennessee can afford it.
Mike Ginnitti, a spot track with us here on JMart and Ramon. Mike, of the 4 teams that just began their off seasons, which of these 4 teams is in the worst salary cap spot? I know there's been a lot of talk about Green Bay and the guys they got to extend, and obviously Aaron Rodgers' future. But where do the Titans kind of stack up against the other teams that just started their off seasons over the weekend?
Yeah, they're right in the middle of the mix here. I mean, the Packers are a disaster right now because there's so many unknowns, and there's 3 defensive edge rushers who account for like $53 million in cap right now.
Right.
So there's a lot of moving parts happening in Green Bay. I mean, not even the bigger ones that we've talked about so much. But Tennessee and Buffalo are kind of in the same boat, with the exception that Buffalo loves their quarterback, and I'm not sure Tennessee does right now. So similar situations, but I do believe Tennessee has as much moving pieces as Green Bay will. And even if it's not the quarterback position, there's a wide receiver situation, there's a tight end situation, there's a couple of edge rushers, there's a cornerback to be added. It's very patterned with what Green Bay is going to be doing this offseason. So probably more movement than a team that got to the divisional round wants to be doing, but that's what we have in a hard cap sport here. Mike,
one final question for you. This has all been great stuff.
It is.
Titans fans are looking for that next quarterback. And there's been already a lot of talk about Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, guys that are not really practical for this team going into this offseason. But what practical options might be available if the Titans want to try to find another low-risk, low-money kind of guy like they found in Ryan Tannehill a couple of years ago? Is there a guy out there that fits as a veteran or a younger guy who could kind of push the quarterback situation a bit here in Tennessee?
I'm watching where Russell Wilson ends up, because that's the situation I really want to monitor if I'm a couple of teams like this with limited cap situations. I don't believe they're in the market for Russell Wilson. I don't think they can handle another $40 million contract right now, to be honest. So what happens if Russell Wilson goes to the New York Giants? I realize Daniel Jones looks and smells pretty bad right now, but that's a situation where that is a Tannehill type situation where it looked like that in Miami for Ryan, and then he switched scenery and things got better quickly. So Daniel Jones is basically on non-guaranteed after this season. It's a very small $1.5 million salary. If Russell Wilson ends up as a Giant this offseason and they want to completely reconfigure that organization, what's it going to take to get him off of that with 1 year left in his contract? That's what I'm monitoring right now. And similar with a Jordan Love, similar with who knows with Trey Lance where that's headed. So I'm not thinking older veteran at this point. I'm poaching somebody's draft pick that they no longer have a use for. I think that's the chance to take.
Mike, I know we said that was the last question, but I got to feed the beast. Okay? You mentioned Russell Wilson. Is there an opportunity, a possibility, a sign and trade of, to Seattle that Russ could end up here in Nashville, or that's just like, let's take that off the books already?
I can't see it. I can't see it. Unfortunately, I see Indy before I see Tennessee. I'm sure that's not going to be pleasant around here.
Ooh, wow.
Indy, the Giants. At one point, I thought the Saints were a legitimate option because of how quickly they want to fix things. Outside of that, Vegas is going to be in, but Tennessee's not on my list right now, unfortunately.
So there is Mike Ginnitti of Spot Track with us yesterday. A very good conversation about where the Titans go next in free agency. And Ramon, the part that I want to highlight real quick.
Yeah.
The quarterback part of that is fascinating.
It is. It is. Very much so. Like I said, that conversation of making your division stronger.
Yeah.
That's a weird one right there, man.
Right.
Because we still don't know what's going to actually happen in Houston with that situation, man. There's a lot to digest in that one, Will.
Yeah,
like,
there is.
legitimately.
Because I stand by what I said yesterday, that the day that someone in the AFC makes the power move and gets Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson,
Yep.
it's going to change the whole vibe in the conference, especially if it's Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, if Aaron Rodgers does come to the AFC, you want to think there was a roadblock that Tom had on getting to the AFC championship, like to the conference game. If you bring Aaron over, you've got to deal with now. We'll just go good teams,
right?
Well, we presume to be good teams next year also. Let's go Kansas City. Got to respect what they've done already.
Right.
You got to throw Cincinnati in there because, look, they're still playing right now, and they probably are – I don't know if there's a junior year because it's not – sophomore slump. Burrow didn't have that. So Cincy's in that conversation. You also got to throw Buffalo in that conversation.
Yeah.
I think the Chargers are in that conversation.
Raiders?
The Raiders – should be in that conversation still.
Right.
The Titans, because the team is Vrabel's gonna put a team together. Like,
yeah,
it's down and out, but you understand, like, this gonna be a team that's worthy of being put together. Baltimore, they finally got rid of Greg. No, was it Greg Roman or
Wink Martindale on
Wink?
Defense.
They got rid of Wink.
Yeah.
But they had a whole lot of injuries, so Wink was the scapegoat.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
Golly, I'm seeing people saying hashtag fire Greg Roman more than any. So that's 6-7 teams right there. And we're talking about Aaron coming to the AFC. Potentially Denver is a landing place for him. Pittsburgh could be a landing place for him, maybe. I think the roster in Cleveland is going to be one that competes also.
Sure.
And again, if you throw, as Ginnitti said, Russ in Indianapolis, that's 8-9 teams that are very, I think, on paper at the beginning of the season, where we're all just in the season of hope at that point.
Sure.
Every fan base is in the season of hope at that point. That's a very strong side of the league right there when considering what's actually left on the NFC side. NFC, Tampa, we don't know yet.
Right.
San Fran, we won't know depending on Jimmy G, Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Rams, Cowboys.
Right.
I mean, the numbers are real low over there as far as, I think, quality. Minnesota, I don't count. Chicago, I think, is a little ways away.
At this point, Mahomes is the closest thing to what Tom Brady was. You got to go through me to get to the
gatekeeper.
AFC Championship and the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the first time ever that a AFC title's been played in the same place 4 years in a row.
Goodness gracious.
It's insane.
That's insane. So the thing, but even so, like, I'm actually shocked that these quarterbacks, free agent wise, are even looking to come to the NFC. I mean, coming to the AFC.
Right.
Like, we say what you want to. It takes a whole lot of luck and positioning to actually get to the show sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the Patriots, I bring this up all the time, it's what the Patriots did for a very long time. You knew they were going to the playoffs. Why? Because they played in the AFC East.
Yeah. No doubt. 615-737-1045 is the phone number if you want to jump in. The question of the day for us is, what is the first move that you are making this offseason if you are the Tennessee Titans? We're asking that throughout the show today. We'll give you our thoughts coming up on that here in a couple minutes, plus your phone calls and more reaction to some of the interesting nuggets that Mike Ginnitti said with us.
Yeah.
And one of those we have not yet talked about, Ramon, is at the offensive line position.
Whew.
Priorities or lack thereof. Mm-hmm. We'll do that coming up next. JMart and Ramon right here, 104.5 The Zone. JMart Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. I might get fired today.
No, you're going to get
I mean,
beat
you're
up.
imitating zone talent in the breaks.
You're going to have to fight somebody. At some point, you got to do it, Will.
Ramon, can you teach me some technique later?
No.
Oh, perfect. You can't. All right.
No, I'll be there
Ramon
to break
is
it up.
actively participating in my downfall. Praying on my downfall.
Will has the best on-air impersonation of somebody at this show. And it is so spot. I
Who
want
for
to
now will
tease
remain
it.
nameless.
Oh, somebody on the station. That's
Somebody
on
on
the
this
show.
station. Somebody on this station. It's so good.
Whenever I start talking about baseball, I start choosing violence more because people are really stupid. 615-737-1045. Talking about we'll get to this eventually. I've got to warm up. I got to wake up more before I start imitating people publicly.
That was good. I'm going to tease it again. You're going to do it on the show before the show's over with today.
It's fine with me.
We got to get to some calls. They want to talk about the offseason?
Yes, we do.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to get into the offensive line part of this, too, because I got an 11-year NFL veteran offensive lineman sitting to my right today, not to my left today.
I know. Something happened with the equipment over there, I guess, and I'm over here in Bab's spot.
You're a switch hitter.
Yeah.
You bat from both sides of the plate.
Yeah, in sports, yes. 100%.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, absolutely not. You live how you live, and I'm okay with it.
Don's livid that you're in her seat.
Livid. You know what was crazy?
What's up?
The seat that was originally over here had a lean to it.
Really?
I'm like, Don, what you got going on over here? Are you just like, what are you doing? Body slamming Brent in the seat or something? That's the only thing I can think of.
The middle chair is always all the way down. I like being like above everyone. Like I'm taller than most people.
Well, I mean, you sure act like it most of the time.
Oh yeah.
That's that Brentwood coming out of
37027, baby. Stand up. Brentwood, Tennessee. Where are you at? Come on, Jonathan Schaefer. Let's go to the phones. Talking about the first move of the Titans offseason. Eric in Nashville leads us off this morning. Good morning, Eric.
Hey, Will. Hey, Ramon. How you guys?
I'm all right.
We're good.
Hey, guys. Just a couple of things. First of all, you're talking about one of the first moves. Of course, hadn't been mentioned, discussed yet, but certainly a move that they're going to have to make is addressing the tight end situation. I mean, because that has certainly been a big issue. And the fact that I think Ferguson had only like one target during the game. That's something we're going to have to address in helping the running game and also receiver position. That's something you're really going to have to address. Also, another quarterback that's also kind of a wild card in the AFC you did mention is what you still got the Deshaun Watson situation that's hanging over the NFL and how that's going to be addressed because, certainly before he was benched, I mean, he was playing spectacular and everything. When he's going to come back, and also deal with all the charge and everything, he's probably going to be out of the lineup for a while, at least for a number of games. It's just going to depend on how all that goes. But concerning also the offensive line, this is just my feeling. I could be wrong. This is what I believe. I believe that Ben Jones will not be back with the Titans next year. I think Saffold, you're going to have to look at that. Taylor Wan, I've heard reports he seems to think he's going to be back, but if he does come back, you're going to have to take less money. Because he was hurt 2 years ago, and this past year he missed a number of games out of the lineup because of his situation. So if he certainly comes back, I believe he's going to have to take less money. We're just going to see what happens with all that, guys. I'll get off and let you get some other callers. Y'all take care.
You too,
Thank you,
Eric.
The tight end position is where I'm going to go with this too. When we have this full conversation coming up in hour 2.
Yeah.
I think the way you make Ryan Tannehill as comfortable as possible is by getting a veteran tight end and using a late round pick on a younger tight end.
Yeah.
And give yourself options at that position.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good spot to start at as far as getting this offense together.
Right.
What was spoken of last year, sacks, getting to the quarterback pressure.
Right.
What did they do immediately? Go sign 2 guys that paid off really well. And I throw Nico out there as, he really got into it. And Bud had, he affected the game as much as he could. I'm really waiting to see what he's going to look like in year 2 following that ACL recovery.
Yeah.
But you go exactly where you have a need, and that tight end position ain't a bad one to start at this offseason.
Because I think you can bet on younger guys who are a little more unproven contributing on a defense when you are surrounded by the amount of big money talent you already have.
Yeah.
I don't see Harold Landry coming back to this team for that reason.
Right.
Not because he doesn't deserve the money that he's going to get, and not because he didn't have a good enough year this year, but because you've got to prioritize what's worth $17 million of this cap. And right now you've got probably $30 or $40 million of need on the offensive side of the football. And you've got $10 to $15 million that you can give up that you would maybe spend on the defense if your offense wasn't in as good of a spot.
Right. The thing that kind of gets me with Harold's situation, yes, his ticket is what is going to be this offseason as far as his market value.
Right.
I think it's $1.5 million per sack at this point, I think is what the valuation of it is. But you got to ask yourself, and I think it might have been Tanier or somebody that brought up, like, you worry about teams losing their core guys all the time.
Absolutely. You do.
That's one thing that does happen to this team more frequently.
And it just happened a year ago.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Jonnu probably didn't work as much as they thought it would this year one in New England. But if you'd have kept him here and he'd have had the idea of taking just a little less to stay here, I'm not sure what Boston taxes are as opposed to no state income tax here in Tennessee. But I would have at least wanted them to get in the ballpark and say, hey, look, it's really equal money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the conversation we had. And I don't know if Harold is willing to do that. You know what I'm saying? Or if they can convince him enough to do that too.
Right.
Everybody wants to make the max amount that they possibly can in your earning career. And I don't blame them. You should. But you got to hope that the culture of this team would say, hey, man, 1 or 2 off. Are you willing to stay here in Tennessee?
If Jayon Brown is gone, then you have lost your entire 2017 draft class.
Sheesh.
Every single pick.
You expect him to be gone?
I do.
Okay. Yep.
Just given the way David Long has stepped up. And if Rashaan Evans and Harold Landry are gone, Dane Cruikshank is the only remaining member of the 2018 draft class that would still be on this roster. Because you drafted 4 guys that year, and it was Rashaan Evans, Harold Landry, Dane Cruikshank, and Luke Falk.
Sheesh.
Let's get to another quick call in real quick. Let's go to John in the Borough.
Hey, now.
This morning. Good morning, John.
Morning, John.
What's up, fellas? I don't know if I can top my call from yesterday, but I had a real bad day, sports talk-wise, with New Orleans, with Sean Payton quitting and the Baseball Hall of Fame voting. I'll get into that later. So I'm choosing violence, and I'm teaching these HOEs a lesson. If I'm the GM of the Titans, I'm trading Mike Vrabel to New Orleans for a 4th-round pick. I'm trading Ryan Tannehill for Taysom Hill. And then I'm going to turn around and give Derrick Henry for a 7th-round pick. I'm going to teach Titans fans a lesson. Be grateful for what you have because you're going to lose it real quick.
Hey, John.
Thank you, John.
I think you broke me right there.
Oh, goodness.
John said,
Derrick Henry for a 7th-round pick.
if you think you're lonely now, John said, if I was John Robinson, he's got the first name.
Oh, at least I think there's an H in this, John. That's a key difference, key differentiating factor. Thank you for the call, John.
He said he was choosing violence.
We accept all violence.
But this is what we
don't discriminate.
This is what Jay and I talked about too, as we went into the season, or later part of the season was. Do you want to fly real close to the sun, 1 or 2 years?
Yeah.
Or do you want to fly even? Was it few peaks, couple valleys here or there? Like, which team do you want to be, to John's point, though, Because it could get very Sean Payton-ish and New Orleans Saints and, Carolina Panthers. It could do that. I think Tampa's going to go back through that again.
No doubt about it. 615-737-1045 is where you jump in on the show. What is the first move you are making for the Titans this offseason? Plus, we have a new leader in the clubhouse, not only for Aaron Rodgers, but also for Devontae Adams. And they could be going to the same place. We'll get into the headlines around the NFL. Coming up next, hour 1 down, 3 more to go. It is JMart Ramon, and it's 104.5 The Zone.
Imagine if the first way we did things was the only way, just because that's the way we've always done it. Well, that's what happens when you're selling your home. You list your house and you got to keep it show ready because you never know when somebody want to drop by for a quick look. Or you have dozens of people marching through your home that may or may not be serious about buying. And this goes on and on and on until the right buyer comes along. Well, that's all ended now. And it's Ramon Foster. And I want to tell you what I did. I actually went to opendoor.com and I put in my address and home info. And I got an offer back in no time right to my email. It was no listings, no strangers, and no stress. Open Door gives you a real competitive offer in minutes. Just go to opendoor.com/WGFX and get your free offer. Open Door is a new way to sell without all the hassles of a traditional home selling. You'll know exactly what you're getting. You can decide when you want to close. Go to opendoor.com/WGFX and get your free offer today. That's opendoor.com/WGFX. And offer eligibility varies. And Open Door is represented by Open Door Brokerage Inc. License 020611130 in California. Open Door Brokerage LLC in its other markets.
Good morning. I'm Jonathan Shea for the Nashville Predators. Victorious last night at the Seattle Kraken, 4-2. The final score. 4 different players scored for Nashville. UC Saros made 33 saves. Preds have won 3 in a row. Will play at Edmonton tomorrow night. Sean Payton announced he's stepping down as head coach of the New Orleans Saints after 16 seasons and 1 Super Bowl win. Payton said while he's leaving the club, retirement is not the right word. Referring to a former team owner, Tom Benson. David Ortiz, the lone player elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame this year, being the only player to clear the required 75% threshold. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens shut out. According to sources, Louisville men's basketball coach Chris Mack may be on his way out as the school is engaged in discussions to separate with their fourth-year head coach. SEC basketball today at late afternoon start. Florida at number 18 Tennessee. 5 o'clock the tip, 4:30 pregame, courtesy of the Vol Network here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Very good Wednesday morning to you right here on 104.5 The Zone. The show is JMart and Ramon, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Jonathan Schaefer, our producer, 11-year NFL veteran Ramon Foster to my right. And in for Jason Martin again today, I am Will Bowling. Phone lines filling up, and you've got your chance to react with us as well at 615-737-1045. The question is simple. What's the first move you are making if you are John Robinson and the Tennessee Titans this offseason? We've got that coming up. We've got Emily Proud coming up at 8:20. Rhett Bryan at 9. A full show and a full slate of reaction from Titans fans who might be going through a different stage of grief today, Ramon Foster.
Yeah, I think we've kind of transitioned a little bit, Will, as far as, what's the expectations and reality, I think, is more or less set in right now, So that's where we can start talking about these type of conversations, man, as far as, what's next. So, and I just want to give a preference first before we start taking these calls and getting into more of what's the first move to be made. You want me to go through the list of 2022 free agents for the Titans?
Hit me.
Top of the list, Ben Jones, Jayon Brown, Anthony Ferkser, Rashawn Evans, Jeff Swain, Harold Landry, long snapper Morgan Cox, Marcus Johnson, who showed a little praise, Nick Dusenbar, Matthias Farley, Randy Bullock. Hey, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Ola Daney, Chester Rogers, Michael Pruitt, Greg Maben, Trevor Coley, Kyle Pecco, Kari Blasingame, Ficken, Quessenberry, Tierre Tart, Cam Batson, backup quarterback Logan Woodside, Dane Cruikshank, Nick Westbrook, Keena, Derek Roberson, Avery Genesee, and Ryan Izzo.
That's a lot of turnover again.
It's a lot of key core guys on this list, too. I didn't realize Tierre was already up.
Yeah. And there are a lot of guys, too, that are on big deals right now that are not going to be back either.
Yeah. Sheesh.
615-737-1045. What is the first move that you are making this offseason? We begin with Trey in Nashville. What's going on, Trey?
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
Hey, I was just thinking, man, that, Ryan, I think he'll be better. He just need to get his timing down, man. You know what I'm saying? His timing's been off for like the last 3 games. And we need to do something about tight end, man.
Mm-hmm.
That slot position's been terrible ever since Delaney left. And y'all tell me what y'all think about that.
Thank you, Trey.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
You too.
Absolutely, Trey.
Yeah, I think the Titans need the multiplicity of having a running back with a more diverse route tree and a tight end with a more diverse route tree.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this with Coach Mack before, that once you have the unknown of, hey, this running back is in and he might be into block, he might be into catch, he might be into run over the middle, he can run to the outside, but you also have that with the tight end at the same time. You create more deception within the offense. I don't know about you. I feel like the Titans really telegraphed when they were running play action and when they were throwing this year, just based on the personnel wide receiver.
Yeah.
Whoever I was watching the game with, when I would see Nick Westbrook-Akina and Jeff Swaim as the two guys on the field, it's, all right, so this is a run. Or it's a play action dump down to Jeff Swaim for 5 yards.
Tendencies. You knew what was expected.
And if I noticed that, then a quality control assistant that's sitting behind the defensive coordinator up in the booth saying, hey.
Yeah, for real.
Julio's on the field. They're passing it.
I mean, think about it. Exactly. You legitimately got. So you talk about quality control assistants.
Yeah.
Like, those aren't just regular Joes.
Right.
Like, those are your Sean McVays. Raheem Mostert, Matt LaFleur's. Those are your guys that played those positions. Kyle Shanahan. Like, so it's not like they're just slappies. They actually know the game. And Will, like you said, you see that tendency.
Yeah.
And, Trey bring up that point, though. I've always been told from college on up, when you start to understand the game a little bit more, my tight end is my blanket. It keeps me warm. That's why I can drop the ball off to it. That's what Joe Burrow did to Usman.
Yeah.
This past weekend.
Right.
Think about it.
Right.
There's a few times in the game, it's like, why are you not covering him? Well, when you have attractions on the outside as far as receivers go, you can dump it off to a really good possession tight end, and that's what they've done.
Here's where I'm going to go with this, and we've got a full segment coming up in a minute to kind of have a more nuanced conversation here. We talked about A.J. Brown's yards after catch numbers.
Yeah.
Going way down in 2021 versus 19 and 20. Titans need guys that can get their own yardage. Kind of like in basketball. You need a point guard that can get his own shot.
Yep.
Your ceiling is held down by the fact that you got to have dudes who are just dudes that make their own play out of nothing. Outside of A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry when he has the ball in his hands, how many of those guys do you really see on the Tennessee Titans offense right now?
You know what opened my eyes to saying nobody thus far?
Julio's been that for a lot of his career, but
has.
I think a lot of what he would be able to do is predicated by Ryan Tannehill hitting him deep down the field.
Yeah. Now, I ain't going to take away from AJ as much.
No, I agree. I think A.J. Brown is the exception of this.
When I thought about it, but looking at the way Jamar Chase just spit off from Christian Fulton this past weekend.
That's it. It increases your margin for error so much.
Like that get the ball to your athletes in space. It's almost like Little League a little bit in a sense. A little flag football. Where is the athlete? Where is he? Up there he is.
Yep.
Like, you need a couple of them on your team, to your point, Will. 100%, man. That played off of Cincinnati in a huge way because that was a 1 yard out. Like, that was a 1 yard stop route. Like,
it looked like a hot read of Joe Burrow knew that there was the blitz on the backside to his left. And so he had a hot read and he called at the line, hey, we're going to run this little flash screen over here to the left if they bring 8. And that's what the Titans did. And it hit for 60 yards.
1-on-1.
Yeah.
Athletes win. And both of them are really good athletes. Jamar Chase and Christian Fulton.
Right.
He got him on that play.
At the end of the day, you know this as well as anybody, this league comes down to winning one-on-one.
Yeah, it does.
At the end of the day,
yep,
you win a Super Bowl if you win one-on-one.
Yep.
I know there's a lot of talk about you got to have the quarterback, and that's fine. Because the quarterback then changes your margin for error for how many one-on-ones you have to win or how many you are allowed to lose because your quarterback can make something out of absolutely nothing.
You know where that goes all across the board?
Where's
Von Miller in the Super Bowl.
That's right.
How many one-on-ones did he win that day?
Because Peyton in the last 10 years probably had the worst performance of a Super Bowl winning quarterback in the last decade of the NFL.
We love him.
We do.
But
he's probably the second greatest to ever play the position.
But behind Tom. Yeah, I'm tripping. I was about to say behind who?
I wouldn't have said that a couple years ago.
Merit.
Hurts me. What's wrong with you? Let's go to Cousin Bam real quick.
What's up, Bam?
Here in Nashville. Good morning, Bam.
Good morning. I'm getting there day by day. I'm a little bit better. I'm still pissed off a little bit. I still say the first thing we need to do this morning or the off season is get rid of Todd County.
Oh.
I'm not changing that. I'm choosing violence all day. But I'm gonna say this when it comes to J-Rob. Last year, and I'm pretty sure Ramon, you can attest to this. Everybody can say this. Nobody said when all the talk was about Julio coming here, it's not gonna happen, y'all. Get out. Get it out your head.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna happen. Did we all not say that?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was like, it's not gonna happen. Whoopty whoopty whoop.
Mm-hmm.
We look up. Julio's getting off the plane.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm saying is John Robinson is a different kind of dude. I don't expect, I'm not going to be surprised if he does something and we look up and see some changes that we're talking about aren't going to happen right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's proven himself to be that. So, I don't know what. I just got a feeling Robinson's going to blow everybody's mind. If we make any other changes, I'd say we really need that tight end, man. That Jonnu Smith, not saying him, but we need that kind of person because that was Ryan Tannehill's blanket, to be honest with you. Anthony Ferguson ain't filling that role for whatever reason. He may have been a good decoy for Jonnu or whatever, make he plays, but he's just not that dude to do that. I'm still not 100% sold that John Robinson is not going to change something at that quarterback position either.
Oh,
I listen, man. I'm just talking, but I'm talking good at the same time.
Yeah. I know,
Bam.
Bam.
Have a good day, man.
I wrote it down.
Thank you, Bam.
126-22. Bam says JR is going to do something wild.
Not at the quarterback position. I don't think so.
He said I just wrote it down just in case we got to come back to it, Will.
Ryan Tannehill has given you a proof of concept for winning. Yeah, I know. It's just, and we got months of this, and I'm okay with it. I'm not going to judge anybody for having that opinion. I just don't think it's practical.
Yeah.
I don't think the opinion is wrong. It's the next steps.
I'm just
where's the money coming from? Nobody really knows at this point, but they definitely don't hear. 615-737-1045. What is your first move of the offseason? We'll start with Phil after the break, get to Robert after that. Lots more of your reaction and more of our thoughts on the first moves that we would make for the Titans this offseason. Hour number 2 underway. We got a whole lot more left. It is JMart and Ramon right here, 104.5 The Zone.
Four teams remain in the NFL playoffs, and that means only 4 teams left for you to bet on at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and counting down to Super Bowl 56. New customers can get 56-1 odds on any team remaining. You bet $5 and you get $280 in free bets if your team you pick wins. If you're not a new customer, no problem. You can experience conference championships with the same game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. That's how it works. And DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you need it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code WGFX and get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. But you use the promo code WGFX for 56-1 odds at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And you must be 21 years or older and present in Tennessee to bet. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
JMart Ramon, 104.5 The Zone, hanging out with you on this Wednesday alongside Ramon Foster. Will Bowling back with you. Day off for Jason Martin, Jonathan Schaefer, our producer. Always. Not
loafing.
really.
Yeah, really. I'm saying he's loafing. Jay just found a way to get a day.
615-737-1045 is the number. The question is simple. What's your first move for the Tennessee Titans this offseason? Besides getting a day.
Or week.
Or week.
Yeah.
Ramon, what sticks out to you? Because I want to get your thoughts on this before we go back to the phones on the one move that sticks out above everything else. We're going to hear a lot of get rid of Todd Downing. We're going to hear a lot of get rid of Ryan Tannehill. Yeah. I think we are working from the working understanding that's probably not going to happen.
But if you do call in and give us that,
yeah,
you got to give us a reason, too.
Sure.
That's the only caveat to it, Will. Can we throw that out there?
Make yourself different.
State a case on why.
Absolutely.
Okay. So aside from those two, and I think the other one is tight end. Those moves, you know.
We've gotten a lot of that so far.
But I think most fans of the game now have an understanding of this, though, Will. If you don't have an OL, you don't really have a whole
Spoken like a true OL.
You know.
But you're right. You're right.
At right tackle. And what, Ben Jones ain't that old as far as O-line world goes.
Especially centers.
At center. You know, he's not that old, but I got to throw Quessenberry and I got to throw Ben. I honestly do think you can afford to keep Saffold and you can afford to keep Lawan too. Whether he restructures, I doubt it. I'll be real with y'all. If he restructures, there's going to be a lot of people in the left tackle market like Taylor. What the bleep are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't do this to us just because whatever your situation is in Tennessee.
Right.
And he's young enough, just being real with you, that he doesn't have to take a pay decrease.
Sure.
I'll be completely honest with y'all. If he takes one as young as he is, as bad as O-line play is in this league as far as trying to find quality, you say what you want to, but he's still above the line. His antics and the way he act and, you know, you don't like the busting stuff or the attitude he get or his, you know, mysterious missing game moments. I mean, it's a lot worse out there is what I'm telling you.
Sure.
But I wouldn't even go – I would go right tackle. I would go center trying to figure those two out first.
Sure. And first move is not necessarily your biggest money move either.
Yes.
I think a lot of time your first move in an offseason is stabilizing your core and the base of what you want to build around.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think that Harold Landry is the first move that this team makes because I think that you can evaluate your options at that position as the entire offseason goes.
Yeah.
I think Titans fans also get frustrated by the fact that they feel like they've been drafting the same needs since 2005.
Wow.
Right tackle, left tackle, edge rusher, wide receiver.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat. Derek Morgan. Derek Morgan, even back then, Titans needed edge rusher. Derek Morgan, Kevin Dodd, Harold Landry. Bryan Arakpo. Always got to have a couple of them.
Clowney.
And yeah.
Last year. Yeah, that's true.
And you always have to have more edge rushers than you think you need.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of attrition there, and the fresher those guys are, the better they are.
Yes.
Over the course of a game and an entire season. But I feel like Titans fans get really, really frustrated by just thinking about having to go into the first round being like, all right, so who's the tackle this year? Even last year. I mean, Isaiah Wilson was supposed to be the guy. True. Jack Conklin, Taylor Lewan. I mean, this fan base feels like they're drafting the same thing over and over. They're doing the same draft over and over. It's interesting. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Phil in Nashville with his first move for the Titans. Good morning, Phil.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
No, so I'm going to follow up on something you said. You said Ryan Tannehill has given us a blueprint, and you're right. He's given us the blueprint how to fold like a cheap suit when the game is on the line and the quarterback has to elevate himself and everybody around him to play better. Everybody in Miami right now is looking at us going, see, told you so. He's regressed. He looks more like the Ryan Tannehill from Miami, which is probably the real deal. He might be a great regular season quarterback, but when the game's on the line and he's got to step up, it ain't Tannehill. Especially given the fact that I've thrown 3 picks The last one was awful, especially when you had Ferkser sitting there just waiting for somebody to throw him the ball. But I've got to throw it to somebody with 4 guys around him. And then I'm sitting on the sideline laughing. If I'm the GM, I don't want my quarterback laughing because he's thrown 3 picks, one in the end zone when everybody, saw the guy coming before it was even snapped. It was, returned. Yeah. So, if that was Tom Brady, there would be a line of broken surface. There wouldn't have been a Microsoft Surface left in the stadium. If I'm John Robinson, I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers because he feels disrespected, and we saw what a pissed off Tom Brady did the other year.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we could probably do a good year with Aaron Rodgers and then go from there. See if somebody wants to pick up the tag for Tannehill, or we're going to have the league's most expensive backup quarterback. Ooh. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Phil. Couple questions. Is Aaron Rodgers also not known for not winning in the playoffs? Or did I miss something?
That was that one offseason I was a part of with him.
Because Aaron Rodgers has won 1 Super Bowl, and he's one of the best quarterbacks ever. So let's just get that out of the way first. There's a lot to unpack in that call. Thank you for the call, Phil. Aaron Rodgers scored 10 points against the 49ers. Like the same weekend that the Titans lost.
Yeah.
So let's start there. Let's also go to the fact that Ryan Tannehill leads the NFL with 13 game-winning drives since he joined the Tennessee Titans. All right, when the game is on the line, Ryan Tannehill has been very good. One game against the Cincinnati Bengals does not change the entire resume and the entire body of work of what he's done.
Yeah.
Now, he hasn't been great in the playoffs, sure, but, come on.
Very good points, Will, but I say this. You know this. It's a what have you done for me lately league.
Well, sure it is, but...
And this is the other part of it. You ain't wrong in your point. You back it up with everything you said, and I'll say this too. Shout out to Phil because Phil came with why. He told him if we were going to come with John,
sure.
with Todd or Tannehill, come with a reason why. He came with his whys. This is the thing, though, that I think bothers people, though, Will, is you have the assets. You had John Robinson move the cap to get Julio.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got A.J. back healthy. Derek came back healthy. You got Deontay Foreman. The offense moved the way it should have moved. The defense got better. Drastically better than it did last year. And the one common denominator in all of those things that really has a sour taste in everybody's mouth is Ryan Tannehill because they feel like he didn't hold up his end of performing well, Will, with everything that's been laid down.
Here's a conversation we haven't had this week. At least I haven't had this week. What about the fact that if you don't go for 2 before you need to go for 2, you have the lead and you're not throwing the football when Ryan Tannehill throws his last interception? Isn't that a pretty key part of this conversation, too?
It's facts.
And the fact that Mike Hilton made an incredible play on the second interception.
Oh.
All right. How many interceptions that are bubble screens are thrown? Not many. You know why? Because defenders usually don't read that play perfectly and bat the ball to themselves. All right? The first interception was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Second and third ones are avoidable.
Yeah.
Or second one's probably unavoidable just because the defender made an incredible play. Third one's avoidable if you don't go for 2 before you need to go for 2.
You still go back to his in-game decision-making, too.
Right. And obviously he had more mistakes than was just
between
interceptions.
him and Todd in the third down option, then the fourth down play that didn't go anywhere.
And I'm with you on that.
You look at the amount of picks he threw in the Pittsburgh game also. You look at how he played in the Jets game also. You look at how he played. Another catalyst there's a trend here of, what happened in the Texans game. And you're right. Ryan has been as steady as Steve since quarterback position here.
Absolutely.
But the acceptance of what this team new level of success, you can't blame him for throwing those shots at Ryan still.
Let me raise a point here. And I know this is comparing apples and oranges because the guy I'm going to compare Ryan Tannehill to has had all-pro seasons before Tannehill did.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if the Titans had moved on from Kevin Byard this quickly after a bad season in 2020. How would that have gone when you then saw Kevin Byard go somewhere else and ball out and be a first-team All-Pro? Imagine if the Titans had moved on from Shane Bowen after one really bad season.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the sample size is big enough for either of these guys with them being married to one another. Because Todd Downing and Ryan Tannehill are partners in this offense being a good offense. All right? And there's not enough sample size of those two guys working together and being the guys to say that they both have got to be gone.
I think your point you made, I think it was either in a text or after the show yesterday, is the fact that, look, Vrabel's earned some grace. So maybe I heard Ron and Brent saying this. Vrabel has earned some grace.
Sure.
And Todd is too, considering Arthur Smith wasn't as awesome in his first year.
Right.
And also the revamping of what Shane Bowen did this out. We don't even mention Shane right now.
No.
And he was a topic of conversation during the season.
The day he was promoted,
yeah.
You would have thought the Titans had just lost a star player to injury for the season. That's what it felt like. Yeah. 615-737-1045. Wayne and Dixon is up next. What's going on, Wayne?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks
Morning.
for taking my call.
Of course.
First-time caller.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
I think I listen to you guys all day long at work. Anyways, I think John Robinson's going to blow everybody's mind. I think he's going to find a way to get rid of Tannehill, get Russell Wilson. I think he's going to get rid of Henry and keep Foreman and Hilliard. And then he's going to bolster that offensive line and get us some tight ends. I'm going to sit back and see what y'all think.
Thank you, Wayne. So here's my thing on this, and I don't think it's not that far out of the realm of possibilities to say that John Robinson could make some power moves and really change things up. Because what did John Robinson do after 2020 when the defense completely underachieved?
He heard the call.
He blew it up.
Yeah, he heard the call.
And what did the Rams do? I mean, there is a proof of concept for teams playing NFL GM like you play a Madden video game when you're a teenager, all right? So I think the fans are warranted in feeling like these things are possible. Ramon, you know this as well as anybody. The way you win in the NFL is the perfect marriage of culture to scheme to personnel.
Yeah.
And in Derrick Henry, the Titans have a perfect culture and a scheme and the people around Derrick Henry to go all the way with Derrick Henry being the focal point of this offense. Is that fair?
I'm gonna push back on you a little bit on that one.
Do it.
I don't necessarily know if that's the recipe to get there.
Yeah.
I just don't. Watching everybody else do it. Now, yeah, I know lightning strikes every once in a while where you have this. But watching the way this kind of fell apart this year, I'm not saying Derrick's a great part of it. But I don't need Derrick leading the charge, man, anymore. I'll be completely honest with you.
Interesting.
And that's why I challenged Tannehill all last season. Like, we had these conversations. If y'all listen to us all of last season, if you listen to us during the season, if you listen to us when Derrick went out, we brought up we had these conversations about, look, Ryan's got to take a step. And I think watching these playoff games, because, again, regular season is one thing. We're looking at a team right now in Tampa that brought everybody back.
Right.
And you see how hard it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they still continue to roll also with Fournette being out. Fournette came back and they still lost. But with him losing Chris Godwin, AB getting cut, I think that affected them a whole lot more. Again, a great friggin' culture to have with Derrick Henry. I think he is the leader on the offense.
Sure.
And truth be told, I don't necessarily love that. Your quarterback should be.
Yeah.
Now, I know some people naturally are better leaders than others, but Ryan's the guy.
Yeah.
Ryan's got to be the one that's banging on tables to tell folks, hey, let's go, follow me, I got us.
Right.
A running back can get shut down. They legitimately can get shut down. But a quarterback can find ways to do certain things. You brought up a perfect scenario. You said Joe Burrow knew he was getting blitzed on the right side of the field.
Yeah.
And he threw to his dynamic wide receiver on the outside to go make a play for him.
And he did.
A running back getting blitzed most of the time is going to get stopped in the backfield.
The only pushback I have on that is that we have now plenty of evidence that the regular running back rules don't really apply to Derrick Henry because he's not a 21st century 2022 running back.
This is true.
He's one of the only running backs. I think he might be the only running back that can take over a game in spite of the 8-man boxes and the run blitzes against him.
You know what? You say that, but look how long it took for him to get started this past week, and he never did.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
That's the only pushback I would have.
It's probably not – it's not the easiest path to make it all the way to the Super Bowl because your margin for error is smaller as a run-first team than it is as a pass-first team. Your ceiling is always going to be higher, going the elite quarterback route. But Titans are too far into this thing at this point where I think you have to, at this point, continue to commit to the fact that Derrick Henry is your ticket. Derrick Henry is your meal ticket to the Super Bowl. That's the situation they're in right now.
Okay, so but now you said Derrick Henry is here. But now we're also getting to the point to where we're asking the questions, well, how do you actually I think they're at the wall.
Yeah.
How do you push over the wall?
Sure.
I've been hearing the conversation this week across our show, across our station is, well, do you blow up what you've done as a DNA offensively then?
Right.
Do you get more passing?
It's a good question. 615-737-1045. We go rapid fire phones after the break, and Big Los will lead us off. Get a quick break here, get a lot more of your phone calls. Lots of reaction on this. The first move that you would make as the Tennessee Titans this offseason. We'll get back to the phone lines when we come back at 104.5 The Zone. JMart Ramon on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling with you. What is your first move for the Tennessee Titans? We asked, you have overwhelmingly answered. So we go back to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, and we start with Big Los in Shelbyville with his first move for the Titans. Good morning, Big Los.
Morning, Los.
Good morning, y'all. Good morning, man. Thanks for having me. First time caller, by the way.
Welcome to the
Welcome.
gang, man.
There we go. That's 2 today.
Yes, yes. And I just want to say, man, I'm hurt. I'm still hurt from the game Saturday, man. I can imagine how the players feel. But my first move that I'm making, man, I would go for a right tackle and a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. And then I would ask Ryan Tannehill to take a pay cut, restructure his contract.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been a great regular season quarterback, but the playoffs for the last 3 years, he hasn't had any good stats to lead us, be the leader that we're supposed to have. Because I look at the Baltimore Ravens and the Tampa Bay Bucks with Brad Johnson and Trent Dilfer. They weren't elite quarterbacks, but they knew how to manage the game. They didn't turn the ball over. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to keep Todd Downing, I think they need to be watching that film right now, the Cincinnati game, and saying, what can we do to get better? Like down there on 1st and goal, we ran the ball all the way down the field, and he throws a bubble screen. Why not run it and keep running it? I mean, that's the decision. So if we're going to keep them 2, I don't say replace them. I think we got everything in line to win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to have better communication and better leadership from our quarterback. And that's all I got to say, fellas. I thank y'all for having me.
Thank you, Big Los.
Appreciate it, Big Los.
I want to add
Appreciate
one
the call.
thing to this real quickly is
Go
that
ahead.
when we talk about restructuring deals, basically what you're doing is you're refinancing credit card debt. So you can restructure deals. So you're just pushing this money forward and you're pushing it here and you're pushing it there. Part of the issue you're having with Tannehill now in terms of if you wanted to move him is that the Julio deal, the way that got structured to guarantee that money and what he got, they had to restructure Tannehill, which then adjusted that salary cap.
Yeah.
You're basically refinancing debt into the future, which you can do, and that's a strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
But it also puts you at more risk that if something happens catastrophically or if a player does not pan out at all, it puts you in even more of a bind.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can't do it. It's not that it isn't a useful tool, but it's not a fix-all for everything.
You can only defer money for so long.
That's right.
You've already deferred it once. Yeah. 615-737-1045. Quickly on the right tackle conversation, Ramon.
Yeah.
The difficult part of where the Titans are now is that there are certain positions that in order to get a first-year starter out of the NFL draft, you have to use a first-round pick on them.
Yeah.
That's why it would hurt for the Titans to either have to take a left tackle or a right tackle, because if you're drafting either one of those positions, you're not finding a starting caliber left or right tackle beyond the first round, and you don't have a second-round pick.
Yeah. No, you don't. You're going to be waiting in the whim. And again, like Bam called in early and brought up the idea that John Robinson's going to do something free agent-wise, Like, that's where the draft's going to have to be for this team.
Mm-hmm. And that money's got to come from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Let's go to Adam in the Borough up next. Good morning, Adam.
Morning, Adam.
Hey, good morning, fellas. How y'all doing?
Good.
Hey, so number one, this little JMart break, ain't so bad. I can live with it for a little bit. Will's doing all right.
Thank you, Adam.
I think, from a quarterback standpoint, we can talk about that all day. But I think we need to figure out who the quarterback on the defense is. So we need to solidify who's going to be our inside linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
With Brown, with Evans, with Cunningham. Who's that going to be? And I think if we do that, the defense is set. And then we can go look at the pieces we need to get the offense where we think we need it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam.
It's going to be a process, man.
It is. It is. And I think inside linebacker is an interesting conversation because Zach Cunningham just kind of fell into your lap.
He did.
But what's the opportunity cost of Zach Cunningham versus the next best option versus Lawan, Saffold, or the next best option behind your left tackle, your left guard, your right tackle? Because you got more options at inside linebacker than you do at offensive line. You just have more depth there by nature of the position.
Yeah.
But going into 2022 with Cunningham and Long sounds like a law firm.
Yeah, it does.
Partners in tackles for loss.
I actually like that name, Cunningham.
Cunningham and Long. That could be one of your more solid positions if you want to keep those two together, which I think is a good option.
I think that's, very much so.
Let's go back to the phones. Real quickly, though, 104.5 The Zone TV, you can interact with the show. Cousin Andrew saying, I give you Trey Smith for late-round offensive lineman. At the guard position, yes.
Just real quick, come on, like Andrew.
Yeah.
We knew Trey was a friggin' first, if not second rounder.
Right. Without the health issues, Trey Smith is a first-round pick.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Then that ain't even the same conversation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's get one more call before the final break of the hour. Let's go to Jason in Hendersonville up next on the show. Good morning, Jason.
What's up, Jason?
Hey, guys. I mean, we've hit on it all day long, but let's just think realistically. The money hits are too much, and what we have is what we have. We don't go anywhere without those big men in front of Tannehill. I mean, y'all said give a scenario be different. The sack ratio between Tannehill and Joe Burrow wasn't that big of a difference, 51-48, I think it was, or 47. So we have to solidify the offensive line. And when was Tannehill good? Tannehill was good when he had a check down, sure-handed tight end to take the pressure off of him. So if we go there now, as far as the offensive coordinator, I'm not happy with him. I'm not happy with the way Tannehill played, but I'm just saying if we can't get rid of them because of money, and or for whatever reason, John Robinson just can't pull it out of his hat this go around. Start with your offensive line, keep Tannehill comfortable in the pocket, give him a tight end, a blanket to throw down to, because we all know, or at least it's said, that he's not the strongest arm quarterback in the league, and it doesn't appear that he's tremendously comfortable throwing out to the sidelines. He likes the center of the field. So start there. But if I could, I would not put a first-year offensive coordinator with a, let's say, middle-of-the-road quarterback. One of them has to be out. One of them has to be outstanding. Either you have an outstanding quarterback that covers the deficiencies of a first-year offensive coordinator, or you have a great offensive coordinator that's perfect with those X's and O's that makes your, let's say, second-tier quarterback look really good. I mean, so if the money was there, or if John Robinson saw an offensive coordinator out there that could improve the play just by X's and O's, I'd go after an offensive coordinator after the offensive line and the tight end. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jason. Great call. I think there's a lot of good points there.
It was.
Let's unpack that on the other side, get to the headlines around the NFL, get to halftime of the show already. Flying by, 2 hours down, 2 hours to go with Emily Proud coming up at 8:20. We'll continue this conversation coming up next on 104.5 The Zone.
Baker Birdwell is the disability brokerage financial professionals can count on to deliver disability insurance, education, products, and services. What is your most valuable asset? If you need time, I'm going to just give you the answer. It's your home. You know, that's what a lot of people are going to tell you. But think again, it is your income. And this may sound crazy, but let me explain. Say you make $150,000 a year and you're 35 years old. Even if you never get a pay raise, you'll make $4.5 million in your working lifetime. And I'm guessing your house is a little bit less than $4.5 million, even in this crazy Nashville housing market. As a former pro athlete, it wasn't thought about ensuring my income or my career, but the same applies to you as well, I'm sure. Have you considered what would happen if you couldn't continue your career due to health or injury? For 2 or 3% of your income, you can pay up to 60% tax-free. Don't let your next paycheck be your last paycheck. And bad things do happen to good people, but Baker Burwell is your best resource for financial advisors and insurance agents when providing solutions in income protection. They are a trusted friend working with your trusted advisor to make sure that you are properly insured. Think about them. They are local, and they want to see their community be protected and win. So give them a call at 615-309-5958 or visit the website at bakerburwell.com.
8:02, good morning. I'm Jonathan Shea for the Nashville Predators. Victorious last night in Seattle, Washington, defeating the Kraken 4-2. 4 different players scored for Nashville. UC Saros made 33 saves. Preds have won 3 in a row. Will play tomorrow night at Edmonton. Sean Payton announced he is stepping down as head coach of the New Orleans Saints after 16 seasons at the helm and 1 Super Bowl win. There's 32 teams in the league, currently 9 open head coaching positions. David Ortiz, the lone player elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame this year, being the only one to clear the required 75% threshold. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens did not make the cut. According to sources, Louisville men's basketball coach Chris Mack may be on his way out the door as the school is engaged in discussions to separate with the fourth-year head coach. College basketball later today, Florida at number 18, Tennessee at Thompson Bowling Arena. 5 o'clock will be the tip, 4:30 pregame. Courtesy of the Vol Network right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
JMart Ramon on 104.5 The Zone. Halftime is over. Hope you had a good little break. It's time to get right back at it. Hour number 3 of the show alongside Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, who shakes his head frustratingly at me. I'm Will Bowling.
Wasn't even about you this time.
Oh, perfect.
Nah, it was me.
That's a first.
I didn't know what Ramon was doing over there.
Hit my knee on this table.
Thought that's what happened. That's what I thought.
Hit down my leg.
You gonna make it?
Yeah. Like Peter Griffin.
It's sitting over on this other side. You're not used to the real estate over here.
I'm on Bab's side this morning, man.
Hey.
615-737-1045 is the number. The people are still mad, Ramon. People are still wanting to yell at us.
They want blood, man.
Not at us. Some people yell at us.
In our general direction.
In the vicinity.
They want to see somebody bleed their own blood is where they are this morning.
People are not happy, and we're going to get back to the phones here in a minute. But first, some headlines around the NFL, Ramon. How about Sean Payton stepping away from the New Orleans Saints after 16 years with the franchise? And today is January the 26th, and we have got at least a year of linking Sean Payton to the Dallas Cowboys. Thoughts and prayers, tots and pairs to Mike McCarthy, who has a job, has a contract, and is honestly not even in the worst head coaching situation in the NFL. I mean, there are 9 head coaching openings now in the NFL. It might as well be 9.5. Because everyone's just kind of assumed that Sean Payton's going to end up the coach of the Cowboys.
Although one of my good buddies, man, is now going to turn to a frenemy to this fan base, Byron Leftwich is presumed to be the head coach. And
that's right.
I think they said that's after he had a long meeting yesterday in Jacksonville.
Still not yet confirmed, but people starting to report the fact that it is trending towards Byron Leftwich being the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Saw Mike Herndon yesterday of retired Titans writer because he doesn't officially work as a Titans writer now, but he's as good at this as anybody that does this thing and breaks down the Titans. Say that that's one good way to kind of heal your fan base and make up for the fact that you just hired a guy you had to fire into his first season is go get a beloved former quarterback of your team.
You know what this move is?
What's that?
You talking about Byron to Jacksonville?
Right.
Trevor.
Yeah.
You worked with the GOAT. Byron was a young quarterback in that franchise. He understands the pressure of it. The one thing about B Left, man, he could break the game down and teach it. Mm-hmm. Like, Ben used to go to him when Byron was on the sideline and stuff like that. And, like they discuss stuff like smart, sharp dude. I'm going to say this, and Titans fans going to be mad, but I want to see Byron be successful because that's my friend. That's my former teammate. I just don't – Jacksonville has a way of ruining good things, though, too.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
Ooh.
That's what they know how to do.
They are the toilet bowl of AFC South.
It's incredible looking at what the Saints were before Sean Payton. Because when Payton arrived in New Orleans in 2006, the Saints had the third worst win percentage in the NFL from 1967 to 2005.
Sheesh.
You know how many playoff games they won?
Talk to me.
One.
Huh?
They won one playoff game from 67 to 05. And Sean Payton completely turned them around. 9 10-win seasons, 9 playoff wins, a Super Bowl, obviously, as well. So 90% of the New Orleans Saints playoff wins since 1967 are because Sean Payton was the head coach.
No wonder they let him do what he wanted to with the cap there.
That's right. So that's got to be a pretty depressing situation right now for the New Orleans Saints. That Sean Payton just bargained for Taysom Hill to get paid all this money. Now he said, never mind, I'm out the door.
Yeah, for real.
Talk about choosing violence.
God, dog.
Whoever decided that Taysom Hill needed as much money as Taysom Hill got, Titans fans, you could have it a whole lot worse.
Well, Trey in the first hour did say trade for Taysom Hill.
John had a sarcastic call. At least I hope it was sarcastic, saying that. Yeah, well, it definitely was sarcastic. The Titans needed to trade Derrick Henry for a 7th-round pick and trade Ryan Tannehill for Taysom Hill. Look, there are plenty of punt. I wonder, can we get a punt protector draft board from Coach Dave McGinnis on this year's draft class?
Man,
where would Taysom Hill rank on this year's punt protectors?
Yes, he would be a backup to the personal protector. That's where he would be, which there is no backup.
Taysom Hill taking some crazy stray bullets on the show this morning. Let's go back to the phones real quick. Check in with Kevin in Clarksville. Talking about Ryan Tannehill. Good morning, Kevin.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. Good morning.
Good morning, y'all. First thing I would do is I would get a good tight end. But I got to say something. It's killing me. All of these whining, crying Titans fans that are calling for Tannehill's head.
Talk to me, Kevin.
Yes, he could have played better. But this is the thing. We've had a rotating cast of characters this whole season. So there's no real continuity there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with Tannehill, that last play, if the receiver had caught the ball, it would be a whole different story right now, more than likely.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Last time I checked, Wilson is sitting on his couch. Deshaun is sitting on his couch. Aaron is sitting on his couch. Tom Brady is sitting on his couch.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not all on Ryan Tannehill. People need to get off the ledge, stop getting ready to jump out a window, pump the brakes. It's not Tannehill. It's been a crazy year. Yeah, he could have played better, but receivers need to catch the ball in critical moments. Tannehill can't throw the ball and catch the ball at the same time.
Thank you for the call, Kevin. Look, the throw he threw to A.J. Brown on the one-handed catch was as good a throw as he had all season. I think that's the most reasonable call we've had today from Kevin. You got to make him comfortable. And I want to ask you this, too, from your perspective on the offensive line. We talk a lot about chemistry between guys and having the chemistry of playing with the same guy to your left, the same guy to your right. Apples and oranges a little bit between obviously playing the guard position and playing the quarterback position.
Yeah.
Did Ryan Tannehill set an unrealistic expectation by what he did in 2019? Because he came into the fire and he looked like he was completely on the same page with dudes that were running with the ones and Marcus Mariota while he was running with the twos.
Yeah.
I know it's not like college where you have a first team and a second team. Obviously, it's different in the NFL. You have smaller numbers there. So ones and twos are different in the National Football League. But it was unrealistic for him to have a pretty flawless level of chemistry with guys that he hadn't really started with a whole lot like he did in 2019.
You speak of this past year. of what he did.
Right.
Or,
just all season, him having to have such a rotating list of guys.
Yeah.
How does that affect you in the postseason when you just didn't have a full season with Julio? You didn't have a full season of all of your weapons.
It's the same offense, though.
Yeah.
That's the only, like, every point, like, yes, I think that can play a part in it also, Will. It's just like putting the AAU team together in basketball. Like, you're going to need some time to put it together. Even though you got all the tools and everybody's solid and hey, this guy can score, this guy can make play, that guy and this guy, I do think that has something to do with it. But I think I need to back up a little bit as far as my expectation of what I think Ryan should have been able to do in those situations too.
Right.
So I'd say the commitment from the team as far as finances wise says he should have been able to do it.
Right.
But there could have been a slip up. Maybe Ryan needs that summer. Maybe Ryan needs to fly his guys to California or to Texas to work out. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe that's what he needs more consistency of. I do think Todd needs to be given a little bit of grace, Downey. Because, again, Arthur wasn't as great in his first year. Shane wasn't as great in his first year. And then both of them in year 2 and 3, they take the roof off.
Matt LaFleur was meh in his 1 year.
See what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
But again, though, Will, the timing of Todd being the OC of this team wasn't in the right spot for this team's expectations or this fan base's expectations, though, either. You thought Todd was going to be primed and ready to go.
Right.
And so would Ryan respond to him just the same, too. So to say, Ryan should have done this, I'd expect him to have been able to get the job done in these type of situations. But hearing from everybody else and us watching him, that just ain't him either. And that's all right. You just need to make sure that his supporting cast is as available or his backups are just as available as they need to be all year long, though.
To me, the biggest issue on his second pick was the play call.
Was the play call.
That's like a Russell Wilson and Malcolm Butler on the goal line level. Like, hey, that pick is because you called the wrong play in the red zone.
I heard somebody say, well, he should have double clutched it. That ain't easy.
That's not the kind of play you're double clutching on. That's a high read.
Speaking of Byron Leftwich, he used to talk about wide receiver running routes bad. Like when Ben was out, it was like, man, I can't throw to AB the way Ben throws to him. Sure. He's like, I don't know if y'all understand, but Ben throws the ball and he's able to pull back. Like, certain guys have that type of talent. Just like, heck, you might see a guy that looked like he can do nothing and he can go jump do a 360 dunk. Like, certain people got certain tools and you're blessed with certain attributes. And I don't know if that play would allow Ryan to hold it and pump it and throw to somebody else.
Coming up next, we bring Emily Proud of News 2 into the conversation.
She was in the trenches this weekend.
Absolutely was. Her biggest takeaway from this game, but also her survival story of the Titans pep rally. Because she was live from the Titans pep rally and lived to tell the tale. So she's going to tell that tale with us coming up next. Emily Proud joins us. Coming up next, JMart Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. JMart Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. A little bit of Band Camino on the way back in.
You said El Camino?
Band Camino. It's my favorite band in the world right here.
El Ranchero.
I don't have a lot of skills. I have a very particular set of skills, and one of them is listening to the same 5 bands. That's like makes up about 75% of my music listening.
What's funny is that of all the celebrity playlists we did for a year, yours was the least popular amongst the fans.
Yeah, because I am the furthest away from the demographic that listens to the radio.
Hey, now. Yeah, whose problem is that?
That's a me problem. That's absolutely me. And it was my unwillingness to change my musical taste for this audience. I'm not. Yeah, I don't care. It's all right.
It's all good.
By the way,
Will
neither
Bowling
do
Ramon
they.
Foster with you. What'd you say?
Neither do they.
We do not care.
Exactly.
Let's go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Welcome in Emily Proud to the show. Good morning, Emily. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Emily is someone who is not going to roast me for my musical taste. At least I would hope. I feel like Emily is at least like a little bit closer to the demographic of music that I would listen to. I don't think I've ever heard Emily say something mean about anyone. Can you confirm or deny this, Emily?
Yep. Nope. Never.
Perfect.
Oh, that's not true. Savage Emily comes out on Twitter.
Fair.
Okay. Yeah. Here or there.
Well, hey.
That's not saying though. That's typing. That's completely different. And
these are
Are we really
Probably
getting
worse.
semantic? Are we really doing this?
I don't know if I want to agree to your music taste sight unseen. I probably need to like hear some of it.
That's fair.
See what it is that I'm agreeing to, but
Fair.
Demographic wise, yeah, we're probably a little bit more.
I'll accept it. Well, hey, Emily, if we were going to get one more call about Aaron Rodgers this morning, I was just going to turn this interview into talking about Grayson Murphy breaking the OVC record for assists and just pivot to Belmont basketball or something. But let's start here. You were live from the Titans pep rally last week, and you lived to tell the tale. So first of all, congratulations on that. How fun of an event was that before the world kind of crashed down?
Yeah, it was a whole lot of fun, which made the crash and burning that much more painful.
Right.
You saw the excitement, and there were so many people there. I will say that I got to give myself a pat on the back for my ability to not get attacked or have anything bad happen to me, because I got really strategic when I was kind of like up on the corner of the stage when they were doing the whole ceremony, and all the former Titans were up on stage all excited. And I saw when Eddie George went to escape, and he went down the side, and he has this whole like bodyguard crew around him. I hid behind him. So like I'm like half his size, and I followed him to, there's this back room that they took you through the kitchen, was able to get out and everything. So if you ever need a quick escape route, just hide behind Eddie George, and they'll take you through the back room, and you'll be good to go. So
Look at you following the ambulance through traffic.
Smart.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. That's a good point.
So, Emily, thanks for joining us. Okay, I'm going to make my diary submission, okay? It's day 5, and the pain is still there, Emily. Why, from your perspective, you were at the pep rally, you were, around Nissan Stadium as far as this weekend went on Saturday night. We're on Wednesday of day 5 of the elimination from the playoffs. Why is it like this still today, Emily?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you go from such a high and so much hope and so much excitement, and the healthiest the team has been, and you got the band back together and Derrick Henry's return and all of that, obviously that makes the loss 10 times worse. But I think, from a sports talk radio standpoint and truly from a fan standpoint, the reason that it hurts even more is not because you lost the game, but you lost belief in the most important position in football. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers and the talk that's going on today, and the crazy. I heard people calling in about Deshaun Watson yesterday. I mean, I think that's the frustration. Is it's not only that your team lost a very important football game, and it was 3 straight losses in the postseason, and it's not that. It's that your hope is kind of up in the air for next season, and that's the tough part about this. Is it's the most important position in football, maybe in professional sports, and you kind of lost hope in that. So when you look ahead and you try to get excited about next season, it's tough.
So when you talk about that most important position, I don't think there's a tug of war when it comes down to where people want to side as far as Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill goes. I think everybody's heart is with Derrick Henry, but everybody's hope is with Ryan Tannehill. What's got to change for him? Because that's been the main call this week is Ryan Tannehill or honestly Todd Downing? But go Ryan first. What's got to change?
Well, that's the tough part is I don't even know if anything can. And I know that sounds so doom and gloom, but the issue is that if he comes back next season and looks the best that he ever has, none of it will matter until you see it this time of year. So from a fan perspective, you're staring down the barrel of a full calendar year's worth of doubt with Ryan Tannehill. I mean, he could look awesome in the regular season. He could have a spectacular play like he did against the Texans every quarter in all 17 games next year, and it won't matter until January. And so obviously the thing that's got to change is he's got to show up in the most important time of year. But that's the frustrating part is it's not as easy as saying, okay, well, he needs to work on his pocket presence or he needs to work on, rolling out and having more boots and his ability to scramble and his, connection with his receivers and downfield passing. I mean, it's not as easy as just evaluating it from a coaching standpoint. It's this time of year, and there's zero way that he could possibly prove it until this time of year. And that's the frustrating part, I think, from a fan perspective.
Yeah.
Emily Proud with us of News 2 here on 104.5 The Zone. Emily, the question we have posed to the listeners today is, what is the first move that they would make going into this offseason, whether it's re-signing somebody, targeting a position, or releasing one of those big contracts? So I'll pose the question to you. What's the first thing you are doing if you are John Robinson going into this offseason?
Well, it's got to be re-signing Morgan Cox, right? I mean, you need that long snapper, most important position in football.
I love it.
No, I mean, I think he was the first All-Pro long snapper because they just started giving them an award for that, so that's exciting. No, it's just what you do when you go through over the cap and spot rack and you look at all the free agents and you realize, oh gosh, you got to get that long snapper back. No, I honestly. I don't know what the answer is at quarterback, and I don't think that they're going to, get rid of Todd Downing or move on from him there. So realistically, I think you have to look at the tight end position. It's just absolutely nuts with how much this offense under Arthur Smith, the year before last, really relied on tight ends. I mean, they used more 12 and 13 personnel than anybody in the NFL, and yet you're entering an offseason now where you don't have Michael Pruitt signed, you don't have Anthony Ferguson signed, you don't have Jeff Swaim, who all of a sudden they love, signed. It's a big question mark for an offense that really used to value tight ends and not just to have them, catch passes and make big plays like you saw Jonnu Smith do, but for blocking too. And this offense is predicated on the run game. Tight ends are important to that as well. And so I think that definitely needs to be the first position that they look at in the offseason.
Well, and Emily, too, it's such an interesting conversation because you talk about the quarterback that was sacked the second most in the NFL. There's a lot of different ways you can fix that. I think a lot of us have gone with the tight end position as well. But on the offensive line specifically, doesn't it feel like this team has been looking for a right tackle since Jesus was a boy? Like I feel like it was way before Isaiah Wilson. Like this team is always in the market for right tackle, edge rusher. And it seems like we're going to be going into another draft where that's going to be the case again this year.
Well, I mean, you mentioned edge rusher as one of those positions. I think that's a great example of, even if you didn't get it in the draft, John Robinson did well taking care of that, in free agency this year. And so maybe that's something that they can do with the right tackle position. But yeah, it doesn't seem like it. They've been drafting back-to-back drafts in the top two rounds. They've tried to bring in an offensive lineman and a tackle, I guess. It's still kind of up in the air with Dylan Radin. So I can't, put him in a box in terms of what his position is on the offensive line. But yeah, I mean, you look at these contracts that they have on the offensive line right now, and, they're getting older and they're expensive. And you look specifically at guys like Roger Saffold and Taylor Lewan on the left side of that line, you could save a lot of money, but it's not just about saving money. You got to still protect whoever's playing quarterback for you next year. And so it's not as easy as just saying, well, if we cut Taylor Lewan and cut Roger Saffold, then we've got all this money to spend. Who are you going to spend it on? That's a very important position in football too. So it's they face a lot of questions, and yeah, their center's not under contract either with Ben Jones. So I think that's another position group that will probably look pretty different next year.
Tennessee and the Houston Oilers DNA is and has always been running back, run the ball, Emily. And that's okay. That's one of the points of the season that this team thrives off of is Derrick Henry also. As far as he goes, or the compliments to him, is there an idea that he needs a better complement in the backfield? I know Deontay Foreman did his thing this year, but you got to look at his position and say historically he's, at the peak of where they say running backs still, flourish. Is that something that needs to be explored this offseason too, considering that foot injury and you don't know, what is exactly going to do moving forward?
Oh, goodness. We're already doing this. Should the Titans release Derrick Henry?
No, not release him. No. Add a compliment to him.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, again, if we're going to use the drafts as indications of where John Robinson's head is at in terms of looking at the future, you look at Darrington Evans. That was definitely something that they tried to do with him. Unfortunately, due to injury, he hasn't really gotten to be that position. But by, happenstance, and unfortunately because Derrick Henry got injured, you were able to bring in a bunch of different running backs to try to see how they would complement. And so I think you've got some good options. The Titans have a good problem in that, for the most part, I would say outside of Adrian Peterson, the guys that they were able to bring in with Hilliard and Foreman both performed well. And so you've got some options there. But absolutely, you hope that this injury from Derrick Henry isn't something that just happens now, but you got to look at how the game is played and how the running back position is played and know that there's a short lifespan there. And so absolutely, you've got to, not somebody to come in and replace him, but for sure not make it so that he's continually getting 30 plus touches per game. I just can't imagine that lasts that much longer.
Yeah. And another thing too, because I think the defense kind of, set itself aside. It's like, oh no, they're not going to talk about us this offseason. So with that being said, do you have grace towards Todd Downey moving forward? Even on social media, we try to speak about him. It's like, well, the Raiders told us he was this. And, there's been a lot of pushback in the defense of, as far as LaFleur goes, as far as Arthur Smith went. Also, you needed a year or two to see his development. And truth be told, you needed that with Shane. And Shane has proven, well, look, I can do this job.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a great example and a great reason for giving a guy some time, although I will say that it drastically changed when he was elevated to officially the defensive coordinator. I think that by knowing that he was in charge, I think that changed a lot with the communication. But yeah, I mean, you look at the offense this year and they took a major step back. They were a top 5 offense under Arthur Smith, and they have the most, for the most part, core pieces still back. And then you add Julio Jones, and yet they averaged a touchdown less than they did last year. And Ryan Tannehill threw 12 fewer touchdowns than he did last year. And so it's not hard to argue that the offense took a step back. What is tough to argue, or just the crazy amount of excuses you can make for the regression and the injuries that they had, and the guys that they lost in free agency, like Jonnu Smith and Corey Davis. Maybe those guys were more important to the offense than what we originally thought. Dennis Kelly, I think, too, was a stalwart on the offensive line that they might have missed. And so that's the thing, is there's so many excuses that you can make for why the offense took a step back that, kind Emily would say patience is a virtue, and maybe give them some time with this offense, but also, like, it's obvious it took a step back. There's really no arguing that.
I think I can speak for Jonathan Schaefer that the goal of this show is to bring out the darkness in anyone that comes on this show.
Savage Emily.
What a fun morning show, you
right,
guys.
I know, right? This is what I'm learning in my...
I was having a great day. I
Same.
crushed the Wordle. I got it in 2 tries and 0 yellow squares. And I come on here and you guys just want to talk doom and gloom.
I had just told Ramon in the last break. I looked to Ramon and I clapped my hands together. I said, I just got my Wordle before 8 a.m. So
we do not care.
I'm with you. Oh, goodness.
Grow up, Willard.
Oh, hey, come on. No, Emily, last thing for me, though, it feels like we got a proof of concept in the NFL last offseason of teams just kind of going all in and making moves that you would see more in a video game than you would in an actual NFL offseason between the Rams and all just the quarterback kind of shuffling that went on. Kind of like, honestly, the Titans gave a proof of concept of Ryan Tannehill and teams trying to bring in a good secondary option. It feels like this thing could really escalate when Indianapolis or when somebody else in the AFC brings in an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson. And maybe, honestly, a lot of the conversations we're having, you can't really have until that first domino falls.
Yeah, I mean, look at the coaching carousel right now.
Yeah.
Nobody's quite made that first move. I think as soon as that happens, there's 9 vacancies right now. It is, I know that it's a cliche to say it's a copycat league, but you do have to kind of take the pulse of what's going on. And also that's important in terms of when you're negotiating contracts and trying to sign guys, because you don't want to overpay. So you got to kind of have to know what he's worth and what other people are willing to pay and that sort of thing. But absolutely, 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would look at Ryan Tannehill's contract and be like, no chance they're moving on from him. 0 chance. Then you look at the Rams and think, first-round picks are overrated and we can pay everybody and we'll do whatever it takes. And so I don't think it's totally out of the realm of possibility. And also you look at what John Robinson has signaled in his moves. He's not been afraid to admit a mistake. He's not been afraid to move on from guys that he, might have evaluated one way, and then clearly that wasn't the case. And so you don't know. I mean, the man made 90-plus moves this during the regular season, so I absolutely would not count anything out.
Makes our jobs a lot more fun. No doubt.
Can we just go ahead
Absolutely.
and say that? I don't want to do those
Absolutely.
Yes.
Down with mock drafts in 2022.
Down with them. But Emily, let's fast forward through draft. Let's fast forward through the summertime. We're back in camp. Is this fan base back excited, or are we still at square one when we talk about Todd Downing and Ryan Tannehill?
Oh, yeah. I think it's a little bit of both. There's excitement. I mean, that's the fun part of the NFL season is the off season is so long that it just makes you want it and makes you excited. And I still think, too, a regular season is super long, and there's a lot to be excited about. I mean, you look at this defense. They're going to carry this team far. We'll see what happens with Harold Landry, but outside of him, every other starter on defense comes back, and so you get excited about that. But there's definitely that thirst for football, but it will kind of, unfortunately, I think, be in the back of everyone's mind throughout the season that, okay, this is fine. We might go undefeated, but it doesn't matter until we see what happens in January. So there's going to be a little bit of that, but come on, it's football. We all lived through 2020 and the craziness that was when sports are taken away from us. There's still going to be excitement.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you real quick. We got to be real quick. Well, if this was the feeling, what was the baseline for this year that would have been acceptable?
Super Bowl. Not winning, but going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's where I'm at, too.
That's where you at, too?
Enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, there are enough Tennessee fans, UT fans in the Titans fan base to where, Tennessee fans are very good at talking themselves into excitement about something that really doesn't look all that optimistic. I'm putting myself in that boat, too. I'm not judging. So
throw me in there, hey, all 3 of us.
That's right. Misery loves company. There's no doubt about it.
Look at us.
Hey, Emily Proud has been our guest here in the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Follow her on Twitter at Emily_Proud. Always appreciate the time, Emily.
Yes.
Catch up soon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Yep.
All right, there is
dog barking.
Emily Proud. There's Alvin in the background.
That was Alvin?
Oh,
Okay.
Alvin has quite the Instagram following. Alvin is a little Frenchie. Alvin is the content that we all deserve.
100%.
The greatest. Anyone who knows Emily knows Alvin.
Yeah.
It's great.
Alvin.
Coming up, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers a little bit. Lots of conversation about where he's going. Thank you. But the change in how that process is going to be done this year.
We're not doing this.
Is interesting.
We're not talking about Aaron Rodgers.
We're not talking about Aaron Rodgers?
We did that all last season. Well,
No.
I'm going to go
But
cry.
I'm telling you the difference between him this year versus last year.
I'm going to go cry to Coach Mack sitting behind me.
Are we live producing the show right now, Schaefer?
It wouldn't be the first time.
This just became the Buck Rising show. All right, coming up next, we talk about Aaron Rodgers. I say that because he says, I don't care. Well, we'll be back after this. 104.5 The Zone.
Sit on it and spin.
It's a new year, and if a new vehicle is in your future, let me tell you about the Built For You program at Two Rivers Ford. Here's how it works. You order any Ford, any color, with any available features on this site, and Two Rivers Ford will order it for you and have it delivered to your door when it gets manufactured. That's a pretty cool thing. So when you get that vehicle manufacturer in Detroit, it's got your name on it ready to go. Something like, hey, let's say the Ramon Foster Badland Bronco and Cyber Orange, because go Vols. That's all I got to tell you. They also have new vehicles arriving almost every single day, so keep checking TwoRiversFord.com. They have one of the largest selections in the state. Also, if you want someone at Two Rivers Ford to contact you to be on the lookout for a vehicle you want and alert you when it comes in, just give them a shout and they'll make sure they give you a heads up. The salespeople at Two Rivers Ford, they don't work on commission, so you never have to worry about them pressuring you. They're simply there to make things easy as possible for you to find the car, get out the building, and drive that car off the lot. And I couldn't talk about Two Rivers Ford without reminding you that they are a local business, and they've been right here in our community since 1983. And my friends, you know a business that's been locally owned for almost 40 years is going to treat their customers right. So for all things Ford, reach out to the most trusted Ford dealer around, my friends at Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people.
Well, Aaron Rodgers once out of Green Bay. It's Groundhog Day again. Welcome back in JMart Ramon, powered by All Four Seasons on 104.5 The Zone. Jason Martin with a day off. Will Bowling back with you alongside Ramon Foster. So Aaron Rodgers is trying to go about things differently with the Green Bay Packers this time. I'll believe that when I see it.
Yeah, all right.
But at least trying to get his business done before a salary cap deadline. Because the Green Bay Packers sit $44.8 million over their projected cap.
Sheesh.
Without Davante Adams for the 2022 season. So the franchise tag for a receiver would be close to $20 million. Teams have to be under their cap with their top 51 players by 4 p.m. Eastern on March the 16th. And Aaron Rodgers saying on the Pat McAfee show that he wants to basically do right by the organization and give them time to get their business done.
How deep I gotta dig for you to pipe down?
Here's a question. When has Aaron Rodgers ever done right by anybody else but Aaron Rodgers?
I told y'all how it was at the CBA meetings.
Yeah?
Aaron was worried about Aaron.
Of course he is.
Amongst a bunch of other players.
Of course he is.
Aaron worries about Ron.
Now, could the Packers have done more to keep him happy and keep him there? Sure. But now the rumor is that him and Davante Adams are headed to Denver together.
Here's the thing with Aaron Rodgers.
See that.
There's nothing you're going to do that's going to make him happy. He's discontented.
Yeah, I feel like that is most guys at that level of their sport, though. I mean, what Tom Brady is like addicted to just practice.
Yeah, but he doesn't seem discontented, though.
He probably did earlier in his career. He's mellowed out at this point, personally.
I don't know, man. He won a lot.
He has won a lot. Right.
That's fair. But I saw this on Twitter yesterday, and I want to get the sound of this at some point, too. But Tua Tagovailoa talking about the angriest he ever saw Nick Saban. And he looks at this reporter and says, yeah, it was when I took the sack before the second 26 play.
For real?
And he said he went and talked to Saban after the game and Saban looked at him and still was like, what were you doing? And Tua thought it was a good time to joke with him and starts laughing and said, I don't know, I just thought I'd make it a little bit harder on us. And Nick looks at him and goes, that's not funny. Like, I feel like these guys they're never content because that's what it takes for them to continue to compete at that level day in and day out.
Reputation's on the line.
And I don't think that's a cliche of like, oh, these guys just grind all the time. Like, no, I don't think that's true of everybody.
It's a different mindset, dog.
It's true of the 1%, and I think it's true of Aaron Rodgers. But
that's no excuse for it, though.
It's going to be interesting. I'll believe that he's in another uniform when I see him at a press conference holding up a different uniform at a press conference.
I think he's over Green Bay.
I think this is the year it finally happens.
That was his biggest thing. He didn't want to be in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He got a ring with the Bucks, and now he's good to go.
Here's my question. Is Aaron Rodgers doing this song and dance and leaving if Tom Brady doesn't go to Tampa Bay and win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think he still does.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I mean, he was over their management ownership. I mean, they hadn't done, to his defense, they hadn't did him any favors whatsoever.
Right.
As far as getting guys, finding guys, drafting guys that he want. Like, the quarterback does deserve to have a say-so in those type of moves, and they didn't allow him. And the one off season you allow him is the one off season like, yeah, you guys on a contingency plan with me.
I feel like he's going to be an easier fit elsewhere because obviously a big issue for him was Jordan Love being drafted instead of a weapon for him in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Now if he goes somewhere else, he knows he's there for 2-3 years. Draft whoever you want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only going to go to your team, to your city, if you've got the pieces I need to win another ring.
Right.
So get whoever you want. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
So it changes the dynamic of the way he enters a locker room and the way he's going to approach whoever's next.
Saw somebody say he'll be in black and silver.
Ooh.
No, Devontae will be in black and silver.
That's interesting. Would Davante Adams settle for Derek Carr, though? Derek Carr's not bad.
Raiders want to get rid of Derek Carr. Derek Carr goes to
Denver. That is a guy.
Wait a minute. But who on the Raiders? Because your GM's gone, you're going to have a new head coach.
Yeah, that's true.
So who is it that's saying that Carr is going to be leaving Las Vegas?
That's true.
You have a brand new management team coming in.
The assumption, and I know what assuming does.
Yeah, but the thing is that the people that you thought would want to get rid of them, they ain't there anymore.
Hey, what did Mike Ginnitti say yesterday? As far as the Titans go for quarterbacks, pay attention to whose starting job gets taken by big money free agents. Derek Carr on that list?
Yep. Jimmy G.
It's more realistic than Aaron Rodgers himself coming here, that's for sure. Ryan Tannehill's a starting quarterback. We're talking about young backups. Trey Lance, Daniel Jones, Taylor Heineke. Those are the kind of guys you're talking about.
They're yelling at you in the radio right now, Will, and stuck in traffic.
They are.
Sam Darnold.
Stop. Don't be that guy. That
1
was
year
trash.
ago, 1 year
Stop
ago
it.
now, Sam Darnold was called the next Ryan Tannehill.
It was.
And rightfully so. I understood it. 615-737-1045. Coming up next, we bring Rhett Bryan into the conversation. A year-end discussion on the Tennessee Titans, plus his first move for this Titans organization heading into the offseason. Four's up, gentlemen. Fourth quarter of the show.
Yeah, four's up.
Hey, we get better in the fourth quarter. We put on more steam next on 104.5 The Zone.
Are you dreading the holiday credit card bill you're going to find at the mailbox at the end of this month? Well, a simple cash out refi with the home loan expert, you can wipe that debt out and put some money back in your pocket. Get started at thehomeloanexpert.com. Right now, mortgage interest rates are still sitting in the low levels right now, but they are starting to tick up. So if you've been sitting on the fence to get a refi, if you hadn't gotten your pre-approved home loan locked in, now is the time. You got to quit waiting for a lower rate because they really won't stick around for much longer. I think we'll see that. Right now, like I said, they are sitting very low, which means by refinancing your 30-year mortgage, the home loan expert can save you hundreds of dollars a month. And are you struggling with a little bit of bills and debt? Your home is your biggest asset. And with the home equity so high right now, it's the perfect time to do a cash out refi. It can lower your monthly payments, give you cash to pay off debt, and have you skip a few mortgage payments. That's how we begin to crush this year right here. Did you know that last year the average cash out refi was $52,000? So if you've been sitting at home for months, you see this here in our area. People are looking at new homes, and they are still selling fast. So getting pre-approved is key to finding your dream home. At thehomeloanexpert.com, they can lock in your interest rate, project your payments, and get you pre-qualified. So when you find that right home, you can submit that offer and close on your dream home. Thehomeloanexpert.com are doing more home loans than ever and closing purchases in less than 21 days. So don't wait. Visit thehomeloanexpert.com.
9:02, good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Breaking news, Harold Landry will be playing in the Pro Bowl representing the AFC. He will be replacing Joey Bosa on the roster. Sean Payton announced he is stepping down as head coach of the New Orleans Saints after 16 seasons and 1 Super Bowl win with the club. There are currently 9 open head coaching positions in the league. To the ice, the Predators defeated the Seattle Kraken 4-2 last night. 4 different players scored for Nashville. UC Saros made 33 saves. Preds have won 3 in a row. Will play tomorrow night at Edmonton. David Ortiz, the lone player elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame this year, the only player to clear the required 75% vote threshold. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were shut out. According to sources, Louisville men's basketball coach Chris Mack may be on his way out the door as the school's engaged in discussions to separate with the 4th-year head coach. Speaking of college basketball, later today, Florida at number 18, Tennessee at Thompson Bowling Arena. Tip-off at 5 o'clock, pregame 4:30, courtesy of the Vol Network here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth quarter of the show here on JMart and Ramon, powered by all 4 Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. We got a full house here. Jonathan Schaefer, our producer, Ramon Foster to my right. Will Bowling sitting in for Jason Martin here today. And adding to the mix for our final couple of segments here, we've got Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio hanging out with us. Lots of Titans discussion still to be had. And the big question today, what is your first move in the offseason? Rhett, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing good. Fellas, it's just I'm like everybody else. Gut punch, hurt, still trying to deal with it.
Yeah.
It gets a little better every day. So here we are.
Here we are. And it is certainly kind of a big week to start these offseason conversations and start the priorities of what that is, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But just kind of the overarching broad thought of how this season ended and the way everything went this year. We've talked about the good to great conversation a couple of years ago. It's trying to get back to an AFC championship game, and we're gonna play some musical chairs here in the studio for a minute.
Yeah.
And move some things around. So I'm gonna move my stuff as I talk here.
Yeah, get your bag out the way, Willard.
But
the world.
Here we go.
You got to talk bad to him every once in a while, right? You feel me? I don't get too happy
your
over there,
name's on
Will.
the show, not mine. Say whatever you want.
Hey, glad he knows. I don't know how it happened, but we're here now.
No, but talking about just kind of the priorities of this offseason, that starts with just the story of this season. And what's your biggest takeaway from the way this season ended? I know people are going to talk about the quarterback and the way the playoff game went, but when you think of the 2022 season, where does that begin evaluation-wise for you?
Well, first of all, I think one of the things that stings so bad in this loss is that the Titans were as healthy as they've been all year.
Yeah.
I mean, your injury report last Wednesday and Thursday was shorter than it was in week 1 against Arizona at Nissan Stadium. So, they felt like they'd overcome a lot of things, and like, here comes Derrick Henry back and all these things. So, that just is it compounds things, right?
Yeah.
But if we're talking about a place that I think the Titans need to start working on, I agree with Emily Proud from last hour. It's tight end. Coach Dave McGinnis and I are going to start digging into draft stuff next week. He's already been working on it. Surprise, surprise. But tight end, I think, none of your 3 tight ends that you used quite a bit this year are under contract at this point. That doesn't mean that won't change at some point in the, as we get towards the new fiscal year in March. But I think you got to look at it. I really do. especially with, as Emily said, an offense that's predicated on the run.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those guys are asked to do things.
Yeah, and Rhett, you bring up a point. Just speaking about we hadn't really talked to you as far as this past weekend goes when we talk about, like you said, the idea that this team is theirs. 1 or 2 plays away from playing this weekend in the AFC Championship. Rhett,
Sure.
The way this crowd showed up and supported this team from the pep rally, which like the images on that were amazing. They answered the call, this fan base did, which is why you still hear some of that anger, pain,
sure,
just resentment.
They
almost.
showed up all year at Nissan Stadium. They really did.
So time heals all things, right? But where are you in your timeline of all of this, along with everybody else?
Oh, it's going to be a minute.
Yeah,
I mean, it's you don't cover a team for 25 years, and this doesn't bother you.
Right.
I mean, I go right back to the 2000 season when they had the number 1 seed in the home field throughout, and the Ravens came in and just cut the pins out from under them.
Yeah,
that's still, I think, the worst loss at Nissan Stadium for what it meant, and this is right there with it.
Mm-hmm. And the other part too that's always a talking point is the turnovers that happen. And you know what? As a whole, the turnovers weren't bad this season. They just happened at bad moments, either against bad teams or teams you should have beaten. It's got to be a focal point in the next year. Putting Ryan in situations to where you got to make this play, or the demand or command of this offense has got to be expected as much as it ever has moving forward for him.
Yeah, and look, with no disrespect to Michael Pruitt, to Jeff Swain, to Anthony Ferguson, he needs a target right there, a safety valve to check down to. I saw it years ago. Steve McNair and Frank Wycheck.
Yes, sir.
He had his security blanket right there. And he had wideouts to throw to. Now, he didn't have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, but, those guys get covered a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to have something right there. That's the thing in all this is the abruptness of the end of the season. You're driving to go win the game. And the next minute, they're cleaning out lockers. I mean, hey, and it's everywhere. Look at Buffalo. Buffalo thought they had it with 13 seconds to go.
Yeah.
Gabriel Davis, the second-year receiver from Central Florida, had a career night in a playoff game.
Historic.
200 yards, 4 touchdowns, caught everything in sight.
Historic.
He has nothing to show for it. Nothing.
It's crazy. Josh Heupel guy, Gabriel Davis, too.
Historic moment.
Yeah. When you look at the tight end position, Rhett, it is a really good free agent class of tight ends. You've got 4 guys that had 700-plus yards who are going to be available in free agency at the current moment. You got 2 more that were over 500 yards. So you've got 6 guys who had 500 or more yards, including former Titan Jared Cook, Tyler Conklin from Minnesota, Zach Ertz at age 32 going into next season.
Go ahead and name my crush in there, because he's in there.
Mike Gesicki, Rob Gronkowski, he's going wherever Brady's
Gerald
going,
Everett,
including the couch. Dalton Schultz is in there. Trying to think of who your tight end crush is.
Isn't David Njoku a free agent?
Oh, there you go. Yep.
Yeah, he is.
That's my guy.
25 years old, 36 catches for $475, making
round.
$2.3 million this past year.
Bingo.
Saying his market value, I think, is very 6.9. Probably can spread that out to even that up a little bit more, Rhett, to make it more team friendly.
I really like David Njoku.
And I think that's going to be the price point, I think, that makes sense for the Titans at that position as well. Around $7 to $9 million. They're not going to be in the bidding, I don't think, for a Dalton Schultz or a CJ Uzomah even, if CJ Uzomah decides to leave Cincinnati.
Sure.
I think David Njoku is probably a guy that makes a lot of sense. Robert Tonyan is one that I really like.
Yeah, Will was on him earlier, Rhett.
Yeah.
Coming off of an injury, you probably get a little bit better value for him just because of the risk coming off of a season-ending injury. This past year only had 291 yards, but his 2020 with Aaron Rodgers was absolutely outstanding in the way that he played.
Wouldn't hate O.J. Howard either.
That's right.
You a fan of O.J.? You think he just got in the doghouse with Bruce Arians down there?
I think there's a reclamation project there.
Okay.
And the same thing with, David Njoku to some respects due to coaching changes and things. But
That's
Njoku
true.
has really good explosive
measurables. Yes, he does.
Yep. The athleticism is there.
Mm-hmm.
And
just having to
liked him when he came out of Miami a few years ago.
Yeah.
That's the guy. If I'm talking, who do I want on my grocery list? That's the guy.
Mm-hmm. He just so happened to play in Cleveland, and we know how that.
Yeah, that's right. Or that's where Ramon Foster has a little bit of issues.
I choose violence every once in a while. You know me, Rhett.
Love it.
Of course.
But I remember him coming out in Njoku and how excited everybody was about him, his athletic ability. And
Sure.
this is where I'll explain to people, some folks will look at his numbers and say, well, he didn't do this, and that. For a young pro, years 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and sometimes 9 are your prime years. Like, I think now a change from Cleveland, if they decide to not pay him enough to keep him in that city, would actually be a good thing for his career. He played a whole 16 this last year, started 11 games, 670 snaps, man, 53 targets, 36 catches, 475 yards. He actually had his highest average of the year of 13.2 yards per reception. So that's a place to start if you're going to pick that position.
Well, and here's to your point, and I'm not saying he's like Delaney Walker. Delaney Walker played for 7 years in San Francisco and was, now his is a different set of circumstances.
Yeah.
He was kind of the Swiss Army knife because they had Vernon Davis.
Mm-hmm.
But look at what he did when he got to Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, good gracious.
Yeah.
Coming up, guys, we take a look at a little bit of breaking Titans news on a Tennessee Titan that is now headed to the Pro Bowl.
Nice.
Coming up here in a couple of minutes. But let's talk about this defense as well, because we've spent a lot of the show talking about this Titans offense. But as you spend more money on that offense this offseason, going to probably have to make some changes on the defensive side of the football as well. We'll get Rhett Bryan's thoughts on that, much more here in the final hour. JMart and Ramon on 104.5 The Zone. I still don't think A.J. Brown saw how he caught him. Right. Against the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday night. JMart Ramon, powered by All Four Seasons, right here on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Rhett Bryan, Will Bowling with you. Rhett, that's one of the best catches I've seen in person at Nissan Stadium.
First of all, that's one of AJ's 3 best catches. Do you know what the other 2 are? Just off the top of your head. Think about this.
Jacksonville
the
on the
one-hander.
road.
That's right. That's exactly right. And then the year before, his rookie year, in a win-and-in scenario in the last week of the season in Houston, where it wasn't a touchdown, but Tannehill threaded him one right at the 1-yard line at a double coverage.
Yep.
But that right there, that's one of his top 3 catches. It was amazing.
I would put the 2020 50-yarder to set up Sam Sloman's game-winning kick. Probably.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
But that one the other night.
By the way,
wow.
You hear Mike Keefe in fan mode almost behind it. He made that announcement. He's like, yes.
Oh, no, that's Coach Mack.
That's Coach Mack.
Yeah, that's Coach Mack.
Mack in the background.
Yes. Yes.
So the eruption of that crowd, though, Rhett, before we get into the defensive side of it, it was.
Well, and one other thing, we're talking about tight end is what I would address. And David Njoku is a free agent. I go back and looked at his measurables and his numbers at the combine. He's 6'3.5", 246, arms 35 1/4 inches, 10-inch hands, 83+ inch wingspan. Now he's 4'6'4" in the 40, but he's a big dude. 21 reps at 225, 37.5-inch vertical leap, broad jump 133, 3-cone drill 697. I mean, the measurables are all there.
Yeah.
They're all there.
They are, and look, I think all across the board on the offensive side of the ball, you got to have yards after catch because the theme of this offseason is going to be how do you make Ryan Tannehill and Todd Downing more comfortable with one another and with the weapons that they have. A.J. Brown's yards after catch number was way down this year. Yeah. Speed is what I want on the offensive side. David Njoku brings something a little bit different there with the speed and the physicality of what he can do with the ball in his hands. But I think that's maybe a missing piece of this Titans offense is the Hunter Renfrow. You know, the Jerry Jeudy, the slot-o-matic kind of guy that has got a diverse route tree. How much has Coach Mack talked about the diverse route tree of a lot of players like that?
What they wanted in Adam Humphries.
Exactly.
But, couldn't stay on because of injury. Yeah.
Man, I'm looking at some of these price tags. What the assumed market value for these upcoming free agent tight ends. O.J. Howard's about 8.1. Robert Tonyan's 10.1.
Yeah.
And Njoku, Rhett's crush, about $6 million.
See, that sounds about right.
That's about right there.
That sounds about right.
And then, of course, you lead him. It's almost like college recruiting at this point. You're going to get on the field instantly. That's what you're telling him. Like, this is one of them. We kind of need you over here.
Well, half these tight ends train in Nashville anyway over the offseason.
Yeah.
You told me Usman lives here.
Yeah.
Usman. How do you Uzma?
Uzoma, whatever.
Uzoma.
Yeah.
He lives here.
Who else besides Kittle?
Is Ertz here too?
It might be. Someone else said something to me in a couple weeks. Last couple of weeks.
I think. His market value, by the way, is 7 still. 8. Well, he's only 8 years in. He just did 8 years. He'll be 32 at the end of the year.
It is, and it is kind of interesting looking at all these numbers and Jimmy Graham being a free agent as well, who made $8 million.
How old is Jimmy Graham now?
35.
Right now. I was going to say he's got to be.
Yeah. He got paid $8 million to have 167 yards receiving this past year.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Josh on YouTube says T.J. Hawkinson is the guy that lives in Tennessee.
Bingo.
I knew he did.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
Hawkinson.
That's it.
The Lions tight end.
Quick Titans headline here, though. A little bit of breaking news. Harold Landry headed to the Pro Bowl.
Hey, now.
Congratulations to him. He will replace Joey Bosa in injury replacement. Harold Landry, one of those guys that probably had one of the best cases on the first cut, on the first pick of the Pro Bowl. Him and Jeffrey Simmons both to make it. He will get his chance to head to Vegas.
What a great year that 58 had. And evidenced by what we've all thought in you get somebody good and up front to go with Jeff and on the other side of him and watch him work.
Yeah.
And I mean, he works.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody outworks. I mean, that guy plays a gajillion snaps, barely takes a breather.
And wants it.
And he 100% wants it. The motor's there. But, man, you put in the other parts and watch him roll. And it was evidenced by the career numbers he had this year. It was great.
So that's where we're at then, Rhett. We started this conversation a little bit in the 6th with just talking about that. Just walking our way through that conversation about your homegrown guys. Speaking about, like, man, it's good to have guys. If they would take a hometown discount, we had Mike Ginnitti, a Spot Track, on yesterday. He was saying, Harold's number is probably going to be with, like, Bud's, like 17. Is there somebody
and a tag
that
number is going to be about $1 million north of that.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Is there somebody that, could take a pay cut, restructure, find a way to keep Harold Landry?
Kevin Byard says it.
Okay.
He said it yesterday afternoon. I think A to Z Sports had a piece about that came out that said, hey, in his final availability on Locker Room Cleanout Day, if I need to restructure, I will do.
And by the way, that restructure for him is being selfless as can be, because that restructure means they push his number back, which means Kevin Byard is a guy that could be a cap casualty because of that type of situation. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
so
because you can only kick the
yourself.
can down the road so far. That's true.
So that's the idea of what Byard is saying. Like, throw me out there is what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
So is it necessary to keep him?
Necessary to keep Harold Landry?
Yes.
That'd be one of the first moves I'd try to make.
Gotcha.
I mean, you keep that band together. We saw it the other night.
Mm-hmm.
This thing's going to keep you in a lot of ball games.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that you'd like to see is more forced turnovers.
Oh.
You had 9 quarterback sacks of Joe Burrow.
Yep.
And you'd like to have a little more, somebody get a rake in there and get one out. That's the only thing I would say. And I'm being very careful about saying that because they were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, for all of the talk with Shane Bowen and all that, gosh, that worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
Once they got out there and got all on the field together healthy.
Let's go to the phones. Get to Bryan in Jackson. Been waiting patiently to chat with us this morning. Good morning, Bryan.
What's up? Tighten up, y'all.
Morning.
What's going on? Look, I want to just run some things out. Look, offense, everybody calling in talking about Russell Wilson and Rodgers, stop it. It's not going to happen. Tanner is my guy, and we still a contender with Tanner here. Even though, they gave up a bunch of sacks, pass blocking stuff, but when it comes to the run, they was on point, so I would draft me a speedy wide receiver in the draft. Try to find a Jonnu Smith type of free agent, because I wish it could have been Jonnu, man. And I hate that we lost him, because I knew when we lost him, that was going to hurt us. And, y'all sing Ty down and please, the play calling got to get better. Do not run Henry into the ground. We just leaned on it too much. Definitely. When it comes to the defense, sign Landry. If y'all not on the phone with his agent right now, I don't know what y'all thinking about. Jack Rabbit, you got to go. Hop out of town, please. You got to go. And then, look, what game was that when Bullock, I could have swore, man, he come out there and hit the upright 2 times. It takes a special type of person to come out there, and my girl was like, "Do we get points for that?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if they draft kickers or what, but every time they send them out there, I'm like, "Oh, here we go again." All right, what's it gonna be? You know what I'm saying? But
Thank you, Bryan.
Thank y'all for taking my call, man.
No doubt.
Appreciate it, Bryan.
Appreciate it.
He said his old lady asked me.
Do we get points for that?
That's good.
Hey, that's a valid question.
That's so good.
I mean, Randy Bullock did kind of stabilize a position that had been anything but stable.
They were
recently.
driving for him to go kick that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least.
And you believed that he was going to make it, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
He was a former Bengal.
That would have been the best storyline ever for him.
Sure.
Easily one of the best storylines ever.
It's an interesting conversation about this defense because you talk about guys that the Titans haven't been able to replace once they've let one of their core pieces go. I think first of Jarrell Casey. Titans let Jarrell Casey go. It took them a year before they went and got his replacement into Nico Autry, who kind of filled that role and replaced his production. They let Logan Ryan go. Took them another year before they got another player that fit that mold in Elijah Molden to come in and play that nickel position. If you let Harold Landry go, you're taking another risk that you've got to find that production in somebody else pretty quickly. And Rhett, we've talked about this too over the course of this show, that at some point your core guys have got to continue to be your core guys because the amount of turnover you've already had on defense, you're rolling the dice again on a core piece that you have developed over the past couple of years, flying out the window again. And there's another draft pick that you can't invest big money in.
Well, and the thing is, you go win everything and everybody raids the cupboard. I mean, that's just the way it is. Right. And it really kind of explains how hard it is to win in the NFL and certainly to win championships because of those kinds of things. It's a fact of life. Every year, almost every team has a 30% turnover on their roster. It's just the way it works. And, in a perfect world, you'd like to keep all the band together with whoever you want. But it doesn't always work out that way. I mean, Tampa Bay is a prime example. They're the only one I can remember in a long time that brought everyone back and added to it. Yeah. And they're at home right now.
They're at home. You had friggin' Ndamukong Suh just personally just eviscerating friggin' Matthew Stafford this last weekend, and they lost.
That's right.
And they lost. Like, that was personal to him. I didn't read the comments. I thought it was probably just a silly article to read, but Stafford was like, I don't know why Ndamukong Suh was so mad at me. Right. Can you imagine having that man mad at you?
No,
man?
And I don't want to. Him or Jason Pierre-Paul, either one. Goodness. No, or Shaq Barrett while we're naming names. No.
Yeah.
Right. One question I have, too, Zach Cunningham falling into your lap late in the season is a luxury that not a lot of teams have, to get the leading tackler in the NFL falling into your lap late in the season. Cunningham and Long seems like a pretty good duo to ride with at the inside linebacker position.
And that gives you a chance to, if you want to, you can move on from Rashaan Evans,
right?
Who is an unrestricted free agent. And we'll see what happens with Jayon Brown. Same thing. So, I mean, that was incredible. I can't believe he fell to them in the waiver wire.
Right.
But, and the guy, he goes out there with a motor and plays.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Don't hate it at all.
Fits the culture of this team. There's no doubt about that. Let's go back to the phones real quick. Get to Andrew talking with us this morning on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Good morning, Andrew.
Hey, good morning, fellas. Comment, and then I have a question for you all. I'm a diehard Titans fan. I've been watching the team since before they were playing in Memphis or practicing in Memphis. And, I've gone through the scenario from Steve McNair, watching him at quarterback, to Vince Young, to then Marcus Mariota, and then the different management. And I got to say, I'm going to stay with Ryan Tannehill until or unless something major happens. I mean, it was growing pains. I was upset after watching, the turnover, and, it could have very well gone the other way, where you could have handed the ball off to Derrick Henry. He could have fumbled it, and then they could have recovered, and we'd be jumping on Derrick Henry. I'm just a believer that these things make you stronger. And I guess my question is for you all, and I'll hang up and listen, is if you're Ryan Tannehill right now, what are you doing in the offseason? How are you thinking? How are you feeling knowing what happened and the whole city's against you and you let your teammates down? And do you communicate with your teammates? Do you just go into seclusion? What's that process like? And I'll hang up and listen.
Andrew, thanks for the call. Well, first of all, Ramon can answer this way better than any of us because he played it. But you have to find a way to ignore that noise of those things. And sometimes that becomes more difficult because when people bring your family into it, or if there's threats and, all kinds of terrible things like that, that's where I wouldn't even begin to be able to have an answer. But I know enough about Ryan Tannehill as a person, as a competitor. He'll work as hard as he's ever worked this offseason to try to get things right, whatever that is. And if that's going to, work on skills, ball protection, reads, sports therapy, I don't know what it is, but I know he'll go seek whatever it is that he feels like he needs to do.
Yeah, I think most players, unless you're Michael Parsons, you know what I'm saying, fall into that category as far as, fan hate. Like, it legitimately happens, like, a lot. And like you said, Rhett, like, it gets personal from some of the stuff people tell you,
Somebody talks about your wife and your kids. That's different.
Or somebody tell you should die. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, that stuff.
I mean, that's terrible.
Whether you say it and you were like, social media, like, it pisses you off, okay? It irks you. Me being in those situations as a player to where everybody's always looking for a fix of what's next. That's the game. That's the turnover. That's especially the NFL. What's next? Who we're going to do after him? Oh, he's getting old, or he's that, or we could do better here. That's always a conversation, especially in football, because it is just that hard to win. So you're trying to figure out what pieces are going to work to actually get what you need out of your season. When I was in those situations, Rhett, as far as people saying, we need to upgrade at that position, I carried it the whole summer. I carried it in camp. I was probably a little bit more snarky with the press. I was probably, you had
an edge to you, chip on your shoulder
to me, yeah,
sure.
But it went into my training and went into. I knew I needed to work on pulling. I know I need to work it on, my footwork. I know I needed to work on balance and my pass protection. It pushed me to get to that point where I'm like, okay, come see me now. And then it got to the point, oh, he's not the problem. And you fight those things. And I'm different because I had what you want to, like, one of my talents is my mental toughness. But him playing that quarterback position, it may be a little bit different for him. So he's probably going to log off, come back as a new person like none of this ever happened, especially at that quarterback position, because you have to be that way. You learn from the next season, but you don't carry the last season with you. And that's the way I was. When I walked into camp, it was like, okay, well, let me prove this starting day one. Every day ain't going to be perfect, and that's going to be the worst part for Ryan, because I could get by, hidden by the line. It was 5 of us.
But he's in the spotlight because he's the quarterback.
There he goes right there in the middle.
There it is.
And that's the part that's he got to fight more and more than anything going into this next year. And the fan base, too, to the point, that our last caller said, Andrew said, was the idea that he is one of the best quarterbacks you've had in recent. You want to go back to Mariota? You want to go back to Locker?
Yeah.
Like, let's think about this.
How soon we forget.
How soon we forget.
Right.
So with him being in the middle of the arena, as a fan base, you got to realize not every pass is going to be a touchdown. Not every game is going to be 72 Dolphins. Your season's not going to be the 72 Dolphins.
Nobody's done it in 50 years.
Nobody's done it. So because of that, he's got to stand tall and take on all of this to say, man, look, work with me because I'm going to work with you. And I'm going to be better than what I was last year.
One quick thing. I know we're running out of time here, but
great conversation.
Let me say this. And Emily Proud hit it on it in the 8 o'clock hour here with you guys, and she was really good with this. John Robinson has a lot of credit in his pocket for what he's done in building this thing and getting it to where it is, and he should. And she said, don't count him out if we're talking about a change in quarterback or whatever. But I think there's also a lot of false hope there that because the money and the salary cap and all those things. I'm not saying he couldn't work around it. He's a genius. I mean, listen, he's unbelievable.
Yeah,
but I would urge people not to get their hopes too high, because if you go see the numbers, you're like, okay, we got, because the cap's going up $25 million, but you've got free agents of your own. You've got an aging offensive line on the left hand. I mean, you've got some things to address. And no, you're not like Sean Payton, who ran out of New Orleans, $71 million over the cap, and not really a great option at quarterback. He got out of the kitchen while it was hot. And he can go make a bunch of money as an analyst on television, especially if Troy Aikman goes to Amazon.
Yeah.
He can roll right in there.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Could have a reunion at NBC, too, with Drew Brees.
That is correct.
To let him work with his quarterback. Rhett Bryan with us here on JMart Ramon. Rhett, thank you.
Glad to do it.
Thank you, Rhett B.
Glad to work through it, man. Like Coach Mack says, this is a scarring thing. It's a scar. Yeah. You're going to wear it. It is what it is right now.
Yeah.
Coming up next, something I think all of us could use after a long football weekend. Inky Johnson.
Midweek.
A little bit of midweek motivation. A little bit of extra little espresso in your cup of coffee.
It's needed.
As you head to whatever you're doing going into 10 o'clock. We'll get you ready for the rest of your Wednesday. That's all next right here, 104.5 The Zone.
Oh, God.
JMart Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Special thanks to Emily Proud, Rhett, Bryan for hanging out with us today.
Yeah.
A little bit of college football breaking news that I'm seeing just now per Adam Rittenberg of ESPN. Former Vanderbilt head coach Derek Mason is headed to Oklahoma State to be their defensive coordinator. Of course,
right.
Oklahoma State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, a big-time move to Ohio State. So an opening there for a big-time program right now.
Big 12 trying to play defense?
No, Oklahoma State was outstanding last year defensively.
Wow.
Jim, I never thought I would say that.
No.
You don't think of Oklahoma State as a defensive powerhouse, but that's what got them into the college football playoff conversation. Coming up tonight on 104.5 The Zone, you got Tennessee and Florida.
Early, too.
4:30 pregame coverage on Vol Network. 5 o'clock tip-off. Tennessee got a little bit of dog in them right now, Ramon.
They do.
Uroš Plavsic. We talked about this with Ron Slay yesterday. Got a little bit of fight in him.
They call some moxie about him. Got a little bit of I know why I'm here type in him, you know?
Is
That's
that
good.
hard to I always think about this in the middle of a season because it seems like Tennessee has kind of developed a little bit of that mentality mid-season. I don't feel like that's very common.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's something you either have or you don't. You don't often have somebody step up that hasn't really been a contributor that kind of rallies the troops the way that Uroš Plavsic has rallied Tennessee.
Man, there's nothing better than that, though. Having a jolt of energy. And you know what? He also gives you something to build on towards the future, too.
He does.
That's what you're looking forward to. It's like, man, what's next? You know? Coaches love to know, man, I got this ninth grader coming up next year. You know, just thinking of high school stuff and college. And, man, this guy's got a lot of work in his freshman year. He's going to be a player for. I remember that specifically with Gerard Mayo, you know? Like, I was like, we got one with Mayo coming in the next year, and he did exactly what you thought he would do, you know? You got to be able to build and stack up and have that continuation of being steady, you know, in sports, and Uros has done that for him.
It's just from the basketball side of things, too, Ramon, I think it's a good sign that Rick Barnes has been able to develop a post presence.
Yeah.
That's been the hole for Tennessee post Grant Williams. I mean, Rick Barnes has a losing record in the SEC when Grant Williams isn't on the floor.
Sheesh.
Which is, somebody told me that a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't believe it.
I did not realize that.
But his ability to kind of develop those guys is going to be important this season. So,
you know what?
4:30 Vol Network tonight.
I feel like we're being very disrespectful to Lady Vols.
Very, very good right now.
Okay. I apologize, Lady Vols, because y'all deserve more. You're on to something as far as, I mean, just think about where you've been to come back from Pat, you know?
I've watched the last 4 or 5 games. That is a fun team to watch.
Good team, man.
Really fun team to watch.
And they look different than where they were in the past, like 4-5 years. You know what I'm saying? As far as their play, as far as the athletes that they're able to just build upon and get to this point right now. Lady Vols, man, you're on to something. I love it. Baseball's about to start up soon.
I love it.
Can't believe we even gonna mention that.
Hey, fun show today. Thank you for hanging out with us. But we finish off the Wednesday show the way that we always do. Long weekend in Nashville, Tennessee.
Dreadful.
For professional football fans. So let's get to our guy, Inky Johnson, a little bit of midweek motivation for your day here in Nashville, Tennessee. Good morning, Inky.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing, man?
We're good.
You know what I say. If I was Inky Johnson, I'd be a whole lot better.
Oh, man, I don't know about that, man. Hey, I heard you guys shouting out to Lady Vols, man. Lady Vols are freaking balling.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Ballers.
Yes.
They just beat my little sister's team, so my little sister plays for Kentucky. You got to forgive me for that. But the Lady Vols beat up on them a few weeks back. And so,
yeah.
But, man, I want to get – No, go ahead, Mona.
No, I was going to say, we still love her. It's crazy that she's in college playing ball. I remember her just being a little girl. It's crazy.
I know, man. Life goes fast, man.
You getting old.
I know, man. I can feel it. Yeah. But, man, I wanna get into it, man, because I wanna hold you guys' attention for a short bit. Nick Saban said something, right? Like I study a lot of coaches' press conferences, right? And post-game conferences. And so I'm always intrigued by how people respond, you know, after things happen, right? Like even with the NFL games, I watch them. You know, I've spoken to a lot of the teams, and I see what people say prior to the game, then I love to see people's responses after the game. I love to see people's responses when things happen in life, and I love to see people's responses after things happen in life. And he was talking about something after the championship game, and I watched him bring it up again when he was speaking. He said sometimes when you win so much, you lose the respect for winning, and you really lose the respect for what it takes to win. Because sometimes when you lose so much, when you do something so much and it plays in your favor, you lose the respect for winning, but more importantly, you lose the respect for what it takes to win, right? The process, the discipline, the dedication, the commitment. And oftentimes when we look at what we consider to be success, and I always say this, like I feel like success changes depending upon where we are in life, the stages and phases, but also understanding that it's individual. But I think it's very important to exchange expectation for appreciation, because oftentimes we expect so much, whether it's of people, whether it's of organizations, whether it's of programs, whether it's something that we're part of, whether it's our employer, whatever the case may be. We go into situations with a certain level of expectation. And when your expectation isn't met, if you're doing what you're doing for the expectation to be met, it affects your level of dedication, commitment, and how you show up. But when you have a certain level of appreciation for what you do, your discipline, your dedication, and your commitment is totally different. And so when he says oftentimes you can win and you can do something so much that you lose respect for it, but more importantly, you can lose respect for what it takes to win, I want us to appreciate what it takes to operate on the optimal level and produce on the level that we know we're capable of producing at. This week, man, finish strong, exchange expectation for appreciation. You don't have to do what you do. It's a privilege, and you get to do what you do. That's my time. Blessings.